We'll call the meeting to order for Wicomico County Council Legislative Session 2025-17 for September 2nd, 2025. Those who'd like to stand and join us in the Lord's Prayer and Pledge of Allegiance, please do.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. And give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, motion from council to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Any corrections, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Consent agenda passes. Mrs. Hurley, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. President, council members, ladies and gentlemen. We have two public hearings on the agenda this evening. Both of the public hearing notices have been published in a local newspaper and posted on the county's website. The first public hearing is on resolution number 129-2025. This is to amend the 2010 Wicomico County Water and Sewer Plan for the City of Fruitland Water System to provide for the withdrawal of water from the Wicomico Aquifer via the installation of 2 additional confined aquifer supply wells, the addition of treatment for emerging contaminants, PFAS, and to abandon 4 existing unconfined supply wells in that system. And we have Mr. Adam Corey here, Executive Director of Environmental Services, if you have any questions.
Ms. Hurley, at this time we open the floor for public hearing on resolution number 129, 2025. If you have any comments that you'd like in reference to this specific resolution, come to the podium, please state your name, your county of residence, and any concerns. That concludes the public hearing for Resolution 129, 2025. Entertain a motion from council to approve Resolution 129, 2025.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Good evening.
Good evening. Adam Corey, Executive Director of Environmental Services, and Ms. Catherine McAllister from GMB.
Good to have you here.
Thank you. So tonight we wanted to bring to you this resolution, which is relatively straightforward. This is for the City of Fruitland to be able to upgrade current wells in the well field that are in the Columbia Aquifer. The Columbia Aquifer is an unconfined aquifer. You may remember that Fruitland some time ago had some issues with Morris Mill subdivision with the trichloroethylene plume. That's actually a project I worked on when I was still with MDE. One of the upgrades that was done in 2020, and then the addition of a Wicomico Aquifer confined well. This is just going the next step, but this is for the protection of PFAS and PFOS.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Explain what
Josh.
confined and unconfined
Good.
is to somebody that doesn't know.
Sure. So think of our geology on the eastern shore like a Smith Island cake. Okay, all those layers represent time. Alluvial deposits that were washed down from glaciers that were taken from the Piedmonts and the Appalachian Range and laid down layer upon layer upon layer. When you have shallow aquifers, something that's superficial and comes back every year, like your wet season water table that could be anywhere from 2 feet below ground to 15, 20 feet below ground. That's a real shallow well. Then you get into aquifers like the Columbia that are a little bit deeper. For example, you get into the 100-foot category, 80 to 100, maybe even 65 feet, but it still has hydraulic communication with the shallow, young water that's over top of it, so it's susceptible to surface contamination. Nitrates from agricultural practices and old other practices, sewage systems, and then, of course, solvents and other chemicals that are sinkers, like TCE goes down. PFAS is pretty prevalent once it gets into the groundwater. So it keeps moving on down. At some point down there in that Smith Island cake, you get to the real yummy chocolate part, and we're going to pretend that chocolate part is what's called an aquaclude or an aquatard, and that actually prevents that surface water from communicating with it. So that water is much older. Typically, it's that aquifer is starting somewhere way out there on the Piedmont or Appalachian Range. It dips down underneath the Chesapeake Bay, and that water is going to be safer in theory. And then when the well's constructed in a confined aquifer, you always grout that section off in your annular space on the outside of your well casing. And that way, you don't get any upper communication down and effectively commingling those two bodies of water together.
Appreciate you explaining that by way of Smith Island kick.
That's the best way to do it.
That was good.
I have a question, Adam. When I saw the contamination, is it affecting anybody, the residents in Fruitland?
So go ahead, take that, Catherine.
So it is fairly low in the levels. They don't have anything higher than 6. It's a very, parts per trillion, which is pretty low, but it's still something that has to be addressed. The state has fully funded this project. So right now, yes, to answer your question, those surface aquifer wells do have PFAS in them, but it's a very, very low concentration.
Josh?
He just asked my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions, any other comments?
Water treatment center in Fruitland that's going to have to be expanded, and they're prepared for all that?
Yes, so that was part of our original grant application to the state. The building will be expanded. Everything will stay housed inside the building besides the wells, which are very minimal, just a pipe up above the ground.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution 129, 2025, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried, resolution passes. Thank you very
Great,
much.
thank you, guys. Great seeing you.
Next is a public hearing on Resolution Number 130-2025. This is to amend the fiscal year 2026 capital budget to reallocate unused PAYGO funding from the Fuel Farm PAYGO to the SRE/ARF building construction project at the Salisbury Ocean City Wicomico Region Airport, and the amount that's being requested to transfer is $400,000.
This time we open the floor for a public hearing on Resolution Number 130, 2025. If you have any comments in reference to this specific resolution, come to the podium, please state your name, your county of residence, and your concerns. That concludes the public hearing on Resolution 130, 2025. Entertain a motion from council to approve Resolution 130, 2025. Second. Motion second. Good evening. How's everybody?
Good evening. Pam Olin, Finance Director.
Tony Rudy, Airport Director.
Tony, you could, if you would want, you could have the floor just to give a brief overview, if you don't mind. I know we do have it in the brief book for us.
So with our SRE building, we've run into several change orders over the course of the project.
Used an acronym that nobody.
I'm sorry, it's a snow removal equipment and aircraft rescue firefighting
thanks.
building.
Thank you.
Sorry, bad habit. We've had several change orders over the course of the project. We've had some material escalations due to a delay with FAA approval. We've had some other minor ones here and there. The biggest cost increase was kind of an unknown when the project started. We had a $100,000 contingency for removal of contaminated soil that we knew was there. However, after digging in those areas, the contamination was to a greater extent than we originally planned. So the initial costs were about $200,000 for soil remediation, and we had about an additional $90,000 for contaminated water we had to get rid of. That was in the first part of the project. As we've moved on, there were other areas of soil that had to be disturbed, especially where the old crop dusting hanger was torn down. And again, once again, we found greater amounts of contamination that weren't first anticipated. So the bulk of these costs we're asking for the additional funding go towards that remediation cost.
Questions from anyone? Yeah, I was concerned at first because it seems as if it started out as and I really am at a loss to some of the details of it, but it seemed it started out like a $67,000 project, could have been, and now we're adding $400,000, but that was some time ago. And in going through, I went through the capital improvement programs from 2023 to 2026 to try to get some consecutive understanding of how the fundings were approved and how much was spent, and I found it kind of confusing. In 24, there was a brief reference, I think it was about maybe 2 million of PAYGO we were going to use, and we ended up doing, in the budget, we ended up doing 4.5 and 4.1 million.
So, yes. So, when we were putting the last bit together for the budget, we had a conversation, and it was a verbal conversation between primarily myself, administration, and I'm not even sure Tony was in on it. It was Chris Davidson, who used to be here as the assistant manager. And he's like, the amount that we have in the budget is not sufficient. So we borrowed $4.5 million, and at the last minute, we put in additional money for as PAYGO. And council adopted that budget in fiscal '24, for fiscal '24, and those funds were, since we were going to borrowing, the $4.5 million was the first thing that we used. As we were getting towards the end of fiscal actually at the very beginning of fiscal '24, it was determined that the $4.5 million wasn't sufficient, so we loaded $300,000 of the $4.1 million to the project. Again, it was an approved project with PAYGO. As council's aware, I've stated a couple other times that I make departments come to me to say they're ready for the funding associated with capital projects for PAYGO, so that we don't just tie up money now. And as we discussed at, it might even been the last meeting, we're working on, for this next CIP, looking at old funds that have been sitting there that haven't been used, or projects are done and there's still funds remaining. With this specific project, as we were closing out fiscal *24, it was determined that $300,000 wasn't sufficient, but we didn't need the full $4.1 million loaded into the budget. We loaded an additional additional million. So in total, we loaded $1.3 million of PAYGO funds. We loaded $4.5 million of borrowing. We've used the $4.5 million of borrowing. As we're closing out this project, it was determined that we didn't need the full 1.3. The difference between the 4.1 and the 1.3 dropped to the bottom line basically in 2024. That is part of how we had the fund balance that we did in 2024, because we didn't transfer it out of the general fund. It sat in the general fund and stayed in the general fund. So now we're sitting here, have additional funds, have a project at the airport that need additional funds, and we're asking council to utilize those additional funds without taking money out of the fund balance.
So the 400,000, that's not going to be something that's going to compromise us with the fuel farm, and you don't have to come back to us next year with another 400 for the fuel farm, am I right?
No, the fuel farm project, it's essentially done. We have a final change order that we're going through, and so we've accounted for that money. We still have some money encumbered to finish the project, and we'll probably need about additional 100,000. So I factored that in when I said there was a remainder of about 670,000 that we won't need for that project.
So yeah, this transfer will not inhibit the closure of the fuel farm. It just allows us to close the SRE ARF building and get that project off the books as well.
So the public understands, what was it exactly that created $400,000, or what I guess you would have to call change orders?
It was primarily the dirt.
Yeah, it was
For the public, that was remediation for the road, am I
for the
correct?
contaminated soil. Yes, they had to be disposed of properly. It had to be dug up. We had an extra volume that was originally, we thought it was in the top 12 inches of soil. We actually had to go about 2 feet down in the soil to make sure we got all of that.
Has that work already been completed that you just described, the entire remediation and digging out? Okay.
Yes.
So there's a contractor somewhere waiting for a change order to be approved and be paid?
Yeah, he's going to be, yes.
Okay, okay.
And so additionally, we have given ourselves a little bit of cushion, since there is still a little bit of closeout potential on other things associated with this building. We did not take this to the dollar of what we have. That's why it's a round number of $400,000, because we've given ourselves an estimate to complete these change orders and hopefully not have any others, and there'll be money left over when this project is done. But this way we can close out the project.
One other question, because it's related, of course, and so the fuel farm project came in much, much lower than was budgeted. Was there something that changed about that made that happen, or?
At the time, when we, or just before we put this out to bid, as we were budgeting for it, the construction market was really volatile, and we were just afraid that we weren't going to have enough money. And it was really a time-critical project because our fixed-based operator that was there that ran, they had their own fuel farm, and their lease was expiring on July 1 of this year. So it was critical to get a new fuel farm in place. So if there was a new vendor in, they could take that over and we wouldn't be without fuel at the airport.
And one other factor in this was that the previous fuel farm was an underground fuel farm. So there was question about whether or not there was contaminated soil with that project. It ended up being that we had sufficient budget to cover the soils that we had to disturb associated with that project. But until you dig out a fuel tank in the ground, you don't know what's there.
So you didn't find the contamination that you thought possibly was there, and you gave the project some windage, let's call it, in order to accommodate the fast-moving construction, and that's what accounted for. Because it's 30%. You're coming in, even with your $100,000 pending change order, you're 30% of the original estimated amount. That's pretty dramatic.
And there was some confusion as to whether or not the project never should have been listed as 4.5 plus 4.1, but in the last minute of trying to, get the budget done, get it in, get everything done, and make sure that we had sufficient funds to do this project, to do it in a quick enough time, there was some miscommunication as to what that pay-go number should have been. So the pay-go number was more than what it probably should have been, but again, it was, it probably, if we had done everything right at that point in time, it probably still would have been a $2 to $2.5 million number, and we only are using about, $400,000, $500,000 of the 1.3, because the amount of soil that we had to remediate in that project was a whole lot less than what we were anticipating, versus the amount of soil that we have to remediate in this project is a lot more than we were anticipating. So we're using excess funds for something that we thought was needed for soil, just on a different project.
All those in favor of Resolution 130, 2025, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
This is a submission of appointments to the Wicomico County Ethics Commission and Department of Social Services Advisory Board by Mr. Monkey Luckman, Director of Administration, and Mr. Steve Lakin, Assistant Director of Administration.
Mr. Luffman, how are you?
Good evening. Monkey Luffman, Director of Administration. Our rookie Steve is going to allow me to take this one tonight. So I do want to give an update before I go into the Ethics Commission. As you know, there was, I believe it was a resolution or legislation that was passed concerning legal with them. So we did put out an RFQ, I believe it was, and no one responded. So our purchasing department has put that out again. So we're still looking for a lawyer, a legal company, or attorney's office to respond. So that's where we are with that. Since I had this in front of you, I thought I'd give you an update.
Thank you.
So the first one is for the Wicomico County Ethics Commission. And of course, they devise, receive, maintain all forms required by the ethics law. They take and receive advisory opinion requests, and then develop policies for doing those and processing the complaints. And the person we have that I'm formally submitting is Matthew Kramer, who you all know, who's worked for the county for 40 years as the county administrator and then county council administrator at one point, so we think he'd be a great fit.
Okay.
So that's resolution number 131-2025. This is confirming the appointment of Matthew E. Kramer III to serve as a member of the Wicomico County Ethics Commission.
Entertain a motion from council to approve Resolution 131, 2025. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution passes unanimously.
It's got social services next.
And the next one, we have two different appointments for Social Services Advisory Board. They advise the local director and state director as to the local application of state policies and procedures, and they review periodic evaluation of the local department and consult with the local director as to proper implementation of recommendations prepared by the state administration. I do have Jamie Riley here if you have questions, on the board itself and sort of their functions, but I'd like to formally submit Stephanie King, who of course is our director of LMB, for one of these positions.
And you have one other appointment.
And then for the second one, we'd like to formally submit Tara Obarski, who works for the school board, for the second position.
Before you is resolution number 132-2025. This is confirming the appointment of Stephanie King to serve as a member of the Department of Social Services Advisory Board.
Entertain a motion from council to approve Resolution 132, 2025.
So moved.
Second. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution passes.
Next is resolution 133-2025, confirming the appointment of Tara Obarski, MED, to serve as a member of the Department of Social Services Advisory Board.
Entertain a motion from council to approve Resolution 133, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution passes unanimously. Thank you, Bunky.
Next for your consideration is resolution number 134-2025. This is to create a Water and Sewer Technical Advisory Committee and adopt committee bylaws. And before you is Mr. Paul Wilbur, our county attorney, and again, Mr. Bunky Luckman, our director of administration.
And a motion from council to approve Resolution 134, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion. Good evening.
Good
How are
evening,
you?
Paul Wilbur, County Attorney.
And Bunky Luffman, director of administration, is still here.
Hey, we appreciate you being here, Mr. Wilbur. A little bit of angst among council members, I think, in trying to figure out exactly what options might be best, whether we go with the committee that's being presented here now, or whether we stay with the commission that we already agreed upon, and through state legislation, we formed the sanitary district. So there are a lot of questions as to why we've changed paths, and maybe to whose benefit in the long term that may be in favor. As far as a question that I had specifically is when we're dealing with the state of Maryland and we've established a sanitary district and a commission together, what may be the impact when we go to the state of Maryland and say, well, we no longer have a commission, but now we have our own committee doing all this. I'm wondering if, from your legal opinion, whether or not that may create a problem with the state of Maryland.
Well, number one, the state and passed an enabling piece of legislation which allowed Wicomico County, if they chose to have a sanitary district and a sanitary commission. So that step has not yet been taken. That's really why we're here tonight. Upon you might say consideration by, I think, the executive, the staff. I know there's been discussion among the council about a sanitary commission having broad powers to bond, sign contracts, set rates, and the sanitary commission would be a volunteer group, not an elected group, versus a desire to keep it just in-house, if you will, in the Public Works Department, with an advisory committee, which is what the legislation is before you tonight, where the volunteers would meet. They would be qualified people in the, you might say, the construction, design, engineering area. who could lend good advice to the Public Works Department, and then the Public Works Department would implement, but any bonding, rate setting would be done by the executive and the council. That's the main difference. As far as what I think the state would think, to my knowledge, the state has seen more than one county that's created a sanitary commission and then abandon it and go to just a county-operated system, which is Worcester, as an example. I think Dorchester, too.
They have issues,
Yeah.
for sure.
So, the state certainly has operated, as far as I know, with those counties, whether they have a sanitary commission or the county government runs the water and sewer. I don't think it's made a difference, as far as I know.
Have we had any documentation from the state that said that they'd have no problems with this change?
I think there's been discussion, I think, with Les Knapp.
But we have no documentation that says.
I don't think we have anything in writing.
Yeah, it says, okay, you can do it this way or that way.
No.
I think that would be advantageous for us to have something like that before we made a decision.
Sure, and I think we could get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Just for clarity, this is what we have before us is just an understanding of a technical advisory committee, right? So they're just citizens with knowledge and expertise advising the Department of Public Works and the county, right?
Right, for the executive and the council
So they
to
don't-
provide advice.
But they don't have any, there's no authority for them, as mentioned, for
Right.
them to issue any kind of.
You're just really asking them for their expertise, giving advice.
Yeah, I think the difference is that the goal would be that the sanitary district commission, if we stood that up, would also offer that. So what this would do is this would take sort of all those parts of the sanitary district commission except sort of the legal financial authority. They would have to set rates, go to bond, that kind of thing. So you're basically having a very similar entity, but without giving them those powers. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah.
Why don't we just do the commission as the state has directed us to do and relieve them of those powers that they would have to do bonding and stuff like that, so it would still have to come in front of the executive and the commission, the council.
The thing we run into is state law, which defines the powers of a sanitary commission. So if we go through that door, then we have to give them those powers.
Okay, and that would go back to what we're doing here. We're going against what the state has given us permission to do. Or we're changing.
We asked for that permission,
Right,
and they
but-
gave the permission, but we're not going to exercise it if we go this route.
I think what Joe is asking is that we asked for enabling legislation
Right.
to establish a district and a commission. What about enabling legislation to establish a committee?
It's not, so Adam Corey,
Maybe
Executive
not
Director.
required by law, but is that what the state of Maryland is going to expect?
So I think I'll take a stab at that if you don't mind, Mr.
ahead.
Wilbur. Adam Corey, Executive Director of Environmental Services. So when we started having the conversation originally about a sanitary district and commission after having legislation provided to us by the state, again, it is enabling in legislation, meaning we can either do something with it or not. The good news is if we go forward with a in-house DPW executive and council type of commission for our wastewater wishes of the future, the enabling legislation still exists. I can tell you that from the state standpoint, as long as we have the right people in the right places, and we're putting forward what we've already done, like for example with the Salisbury Septic Elimination Project, the Parsonsburg PER project, all of those projects are already moving forward with the blessing of the state without us even having one yet. So having a commission versus a technical advisory board, if you will, the state is not going to have heartburn over it either way. What they would have heartburn over is if you go forward with the legislation that we are enabled to have, create it, and then tell the sanitary commissioners, we're taking this part of your responsibility away, because like Mr. Wilbur said, that's in state law. To get back to one of your questions, Mr. Holloway, if we wanted to get like something from the state in writing saying, yeah, it's good to go without, I'm sure we can get that.
This is ancient history, and I wasn't around when this happened, but when the commission was formed, Mr. Wilbur, you just mentioned talking to other counties or mentioning other counties. Have we asked other counties what worked, what didn't work, and have we fashioned a portion of what we're talking about after that? I mean, is it more like for the other counties, more like the commission that we already have enabling legislation for, or is it more like what we're talking about now? I assume we found out what, I see you nodding, what was successful and what was not for the other counties.
So we did have a call, and I think Mr. Benson and Mr. Cannon were on the call with us, with our friends in Dorchester County. Dorchester had some growing pains with its sanitary commission, and they decided, and district, excuse me, they decided to disband it altogether and move everything into the Department of Public Works under the umbrella of county DPW. Now, they still have quote-unquote commissioners that advise, and the will of the council is still asked before they move forward with any projects. But effectively, it's the same thing. The only difference being is that instead of having commissioners and a sanitary district setting rates, bonding, signing contracts, it's the DPW. So I don't think you can lose going this way. I think we would be fine going either way. The state at the end of the day wants to see that you're putting pipe in the ground for the right reasons, and through all the PERs and comprehensive plan stuff we've been through so far, that they've been very happy with what we've done. So it's really just the will of the council. If the concerns we had over volunteers, bonding, and signing contracts, I think you take care of that with something more along these lines. And Dorchester is effectively what they're doing.
And Worcester did the same thing.
They got rid of theirs too.
Commission, and they backed off of it.
Somerset's still going strong.
Somerset still has a
Still have sanitary district.
Yeah.
Yep.
Joe?
We know how, that's what I'm going to say. We don't know how the state's going to respond to funding in the future because we know the situation. We know that this project's going to be years in the making. We know that it's going to be dependent largely on state money that we're going to get to do it, correct?
State and federal funds, state
Without documentation saying that they're on board with this, I'd be reluctant that this council move forward with it. I like the idea of the council and the executive having oversight on what gets borrowed and what gets spent. I think I'm fine with that. But my concern is, the state's kind of fickle when it comes to, well, you were supposed to do this and you didn't do that, and you didn't do this and you didn't do that, and you changed this, and I don't know. Would the council entertain tabling this until we get some documentation?
There's a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution 134, 2025 has been tabled
Before they leave.
until the next meeting. We can continue with some discussion, but discussion's over, the resolution's
Yeah, I guess the thing to do is try to get something in writing from the state that we're.
Yeah, we'll reach out to our contacts and say, hey, this is the possible pathway. Are you good with it? And that's pretty much going to be, no
Shane,
problem.
So we don't have to wait 2 weeks. Shane, you had a question, I know.
Bunky, questions for you or whoever. I see that you want people, and I should have asked before these appointments, I don't know where my mind was. When you get these appointments, planning, engineering, construction, and financing, how do you get these people? How do we know about these appointments? Because from what I'm seeing, I don't see any minorities or anybody. We have people in the minority communities in construction, engineering, and have planning skills. And I would like to see people of color to get these, because it's been mentioned before at the podium. And I don't know who you appoint, because I bring back when I was on the city council, we would always recommend, an opportunity to recommend along with the mayor who we'd want to serve on, the committee. And we know it's a commitment when we appoint people, we want to appoint good people. So I like to see you all reach out, go down UMES, Salisbury State.
I do want to say 3 of the 7 members that are on our new planning commission are African American. So we are cognizant, and certainly to the extent that you or, I know there was a panel last council meeting, I believe with NAACP, we're willing to partner with anyone to get, qualified people on these boards, but we haven't, we don't know what we're doing with this committee.
I'm just saying,
but
any other,
absolutely,
I didn't mean to say just this, but I want to make sure that you reach out to the organizations, churches or whatever, to see people who have those skills.
Yeah, and if you have contacts at those places, please let me have them, and I will
Sure
absolutely
will.
follow up with them.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, I just want to mention, I did reach out to the Maryland Association of Counties to see if they can survey the counties to find out whether or not they have a sanitary commission or advisory committee and perhaps the pros and cons.
Good.
And hopefully we'll get a response back
Great,
on that.
great, that'd be good. Thank you, Mr. Early.
Okay, the next item for business is Resolution Number 135-2025. This is the approval of the Purdue Pharma LP proposed bankruptcy plan.
Entertain a motion from council to approve Resolution 135, 2025. Second? Second? Anywhere? Second? Discussion. Mr. Wilbur, you're still here, huh?
Right. I think Mr. Illuminati explained what was going on with this at the last work session. Essentially, this resolution and the next resolution are connected. The first resolution is to approve the bankruptcy plan of Purdue Pharma LP, and the next resolution is to approve a settlement of an opioid lawsuit. The overall effect of it will be to bring $1,039,009.59 to the county over the next 15 years from those 2 sources.
Questions for Mr. Wilbur? All those in favor of Resolution 135, 2025, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution passes unanimously.
Next is Resolution 136-2025. This is regarding the settlement of opioid lawsuit against defendants Overgan, Amneal, Apotex, Hikma, Indivir, Mylan, Sun, and Zydus.
You did
Bless you.
good.
Very good.
Yeah, it's good.
Could you repeat that?
And them folks are from the
Dave.
Eastern Shore, are they?
Did you hear it, Dave?
No, I can hear her.
Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 136, 2025. Second.
Second.
Mr. Wilbur?
Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution passes unanimously.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr.
Thank you,
President.
Ms. Hurley. Neglected to recognize Delegate Barry Beecham's in the room. Good to have you here, Delegate. Thank you very much. At this time, we open the floor for public comments. We'd like to entertain that if you have any comments you'd like to make, come to the podium. Please state your name, your county of residence, and your concerns. I would ask you to make sure you keep in mind there's the 3-minute limitation, and if you have some who have already made comments in reference to what you choose to talk about, as brief as possible so that we can be able to get out at a good time for everybody. Thank you.
Good evening. I do hope that I can get this through because I'm pretty much repeating myself on a number of these topics. I had spoken to this council back on May 6th.
I'm sorry, sir, I did not get your name.
I'm sorry, David Chittington, Southampton Bridge Road in the Nutters Crossing development.
Thank you.
I had spoken to this council on May the 6th, which is 16 weeks ago, on a topic of speeding. I had mentioned at that point that we do not have any sidewalks. We are forcing all of our residents into the street. The walkers, the bikers, the adults and the kids, the skateboarders, the golf carts that cross on Southampton Bridge Road between holes number 4 and 5 on a bend. We have a number of dog walkers, and we have one resident that is confined to an electric wheelchair that rides down these streets. Now, as I said 16 weeks ago, that we had no one on council that represented District 8. Has that changed at all?
District
David,
3. I'm
Okay.
the representative now.
So
Yeah.
hopefully, we can have some dialogue in the future. So if we have that, now, the county clerk did reach out to me the very next day on May the 7th and mentioned that she had contacted the sheriff's office and advised them of our problem. And again, I don't know whether the sheriff's office would just put a car out there, after the residents already go to work, and then sit out there between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock, and there's really no action until they, as I said, either going to work or they're coming home from work. That's where we have our problem, and that's where we have most of our walkers and everybody that I mentioned. I think what our situation is additional signage, something that shows the speed limit. There's 165 homes, 9 roads, and the only signage that alerts residents or anybody coming in is within 50 yards of each other, coming down Longview towards the clubhouse, and you make a right and there's another one. Nothing else all the way throughout the entire development. No word of slow. And we didn't know whether we could approach the council to see if we could do something about a solar sign that would say your speed is. Anything that we can do to slow these people down, because I'm telling you, at this point, someone will get hit. Somebody will get injured and somebody will die. And I'd like to have it not so much mentioned, but let's just fix the problem rather than just another 16 weeks go by. We have a HOA program. We have an HOA meeting in April and in September. Another one's coming up on the 15th. I'm on the HOA. They come in and they love everything we're doing, but they constantly scream about us for speeding. We can't do anything but come here. So I'm begging for your help if you can let me know. Okay.
Okay. Let's write the numbers.
Okay, that's it.
Good evening, Joe Venosa, Salisbury. Before I begin, there's a few teachers in the room, and today is the first day back for most of the students. So after a whole day with kids, they decided to come here to be with you. So get them coffee, Dunkin' Donuts, maybe something stronger, whatever. But first, okay, good, the bad, and the ugly. The good. I first want to just give a shout out to Councilman Merritt and Operation We Care. My son and I were kindly invited to the the Maryland State Police Aviation Station the other day to see a demonstration. And apart from it being a really cool thing for my son to see a helicopter, I actually learned quite a bit about the funding mechanism that keeps that vital service to our rural communities functioning. I don't think the public knows just how important that state police medevac helicopter is. It is amazing in terms of what it does, and it's, to my knowledge, according to the trooper who and I talked, said that it was entirely funded through state DMV fees. So it's a free at the point of use service that we desperately need. So as we talk about budget issues, it's good to keep that in mind because that's always in danger of being cut. So just FYI. Okay. A lot of issues are happening. I believe some people here are going to talk more in depth about the issue of ICE cooperation and the 287G program. I just want to bring to people's attention one important part of that aspect, is that it could very well be a situation in which the council actually may have no role in that, because as it stands, the county executive still has quite extensive power to sign an MOU with the sheriff's office to bypass the council and engage in any agreement. Now, I am personally against the 287G program in the sense of I don't believe we should engage in it, not only for moral reasons but for fiscal reasons, because as I found out today, when we engage in that program, that puts us on the hook as local taxpayers to reimburse the feds. It's not the other way around. All the money that is going to be required for officers to be pulled off the road to go to training in other places, that comes out of us, not from the federal government. That's my understanding. So from a fiscal perspective, we actually stand to lose quite a bit of money if that were to happen. However, if it does happen, and the council does perhaps sort of see that coming. I would hope that the executive would actually include the council in any legislation, in any agreement. That way, at least citizens can come like this and voice their concerns, because the council is the only forum in our county to address these issues. Real quick, I apologize. It's my understanding also that as of today, County Executive Giordano has signed a rental agreement with Nick Simpson, who is currently in litigation against us, the city of Salisbury, at Lot 10. So the developer who is suing the city is now getting money from us at the county to have county employees park. Now, I don't know if you're aware of that, but that was made relevant to me earlier today if you read the district court filings. So once again, there is a lack of accountability and transparency from the executive office, and citizens cannot go to that office. So that's happening right now with your tax money. Thank you.
Thank you.
I did email you all a copy, but just gave you your own print. You could save your paper. I'm contributing to the county budget, bottom line. Thank you. So good evening, everyone. My name is Monica Brooks, and I am president of Wicomico County NAACP. While I do have a couple things to talk about, I'm going to do one, and we are going to discuss from our organization another. But so I'm going to be talking specifically about this liquor licensing situation that's coming up in open session. As NAACP Wicomico County, we must make clear our responsibility to the communities we serve. Somehow, despite support, minimal support from the community, this topic keeps rearing its ugly head of intentions. As we have stated before, we will not support greater expansion of liquor licensings throughout this county. We will also not support removing the petition of support requirement for property owners where the premises to be licensed are located. First, the expansion of liquor licenses will only further harm in the very communities that are already most vulnerable across this country, and including here in Wicomico County. Black and brown communities are disproportionately impacted by alcohol outlet density. The effects are well documented. Increased liquor access is strongly linked to higher rates of violence, crime, disorderly conduct in neighborhoods. Public health studies have shown liquor stores in certain neighborhoods correlate to higher rates of alcohol-related disease, addiction, premature births. And families already struggling with poverty and limited resources are often the ones forced to live closest to areas saturated with alcohol facilities. And let's remember that 65% of our kids here in Wicomico County, our school-age kids, are living in poverty. We cannot ignore that these harms are concentrated in communities of color. What may appear as simple business expansion translates to increased funerals, broken homes, and cycles of trauma. Second, it is deeply concerning, actually absurd, to remove the requirement that property owners and surrounding neighborhoods have little voice to petition support in regards to what happens around them. Eliminating their voice strips away a critical safeguard of community accountability. Removing this requirement silences residents, particularly in marginalized community who already struggle to be heard in policy decisions. Your decisions bear confusion as you, and this is not just you, as you just released funding, and this was for me saying to the county executive, you just released funding to help students thrive, and now you want to tear down the communities in which they live. So for these reasons, we urge and encourage the reject both of the expansion of the liquor licensing and the removal of this petition of support requirement. Our communities deserve policies that uplift health, safety, and stability, not ones that further exploit them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Joe Schiaffino, Salisbury. I just want to touch, well, Mr. Venosa touched on the rumor about this 287G that Wicomico County is considering participation in. When I heard about the rumor, I did a little research, and I discovered that on the congressional website, it says, to participate in the program, LEAs must contact their local ICE enforcement and removal office and apply. So they can't just come in and say, you're going to do this. Immigration, I can't do justice to the immigration issue in 3 minutes. If ICE comes here with a valid arrest warrant for a criminal that shouldn't be here, by all means, we should cooperate. But any other issue to do with their mission is their job. And again, I didn't know about the cost to the county that Mr. Venosa identified. That would be another reason to not participate. And what I would lastly say on behalf of the immigrants who are being vilified, I don't think anybody in this room would want to leave their home where they grew up for any light reason. But for decades, the federal government of the United States has engaged in regime change in a lot of these countries that have destroyed economies, supported dictators and strongmen that have ruined these societies. These are desperate people that are coming here. And again, if I was in their position, I would be doing the same thing. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Samuel Henry. I'm the first vice president of the Wicomico County branch of the NAACP. I am here on behalf of the NAACP. Our organization has always stood in solidarity with immigrant communities because immigrant rights are civil rights and civil rights are human rights. The 287G program is not simply about immigration enforcement. It is about racial profiling. While supporters may argue that it only affects people who are arrested, we know the reality. Black and brown people are disproportionately stopped, detained, and arrested, often not for legitimate reasons, but because of bias in policing. That means this program will magnify existing inequalities and harm our communities. We also have a moral responsibility. Protecting our immigrant neighbors is not only right, it strengthens all of us. As Fannie Lou Hamer said, nobody's free until everybody's free. And let us be clear, law enforcement power is never neutral. We see even today how the President of the United States is deploying the National Guard in Washington, D.C., using the machinery of law enforcement as a weapon. 287G comes from that same playbook, putting political fear above community trust. That is why we must ask hard questions. Has the Sheriff's Office earned the public's confidence? Can we truly say our detention center upholds dignity and justice? Until we can answer yes, giving this agency greater power over immigration is not only reckless, it is dangerous. The NAACP urges this council to reject 287G, choose unity over division, choose fairness over fear, because when justice is denied to any one of us, the freedom of all of us is at risk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Rowdy Citizen. At least that's what I was called when they called the police on me out of the executive office the other day. I came here last month for the first time to try to get involved in local politics. The one issue that I brought up to the council here is stay constitutional, okay? The whole point that I came up was about the ethics committee and the need to require to give your name and address. The last I checked, you're the government, we're the people. We have Fourth Amendment protections. We're not required. I understand if we have to go further, but an initial investigation into a complaint does not require a name and address. While doing this, I decided to get involved in local politics because, again, I made the comment, this is where we lose our freedoms, not at the federal government, right here. While doing this, I said, I'm gonna go full bore. I'm gonna find out everything I can. First thing I'm going to find out is about you, the council and the executive office. Who are you people? The first thing I asked for when I came up here to talk to Ms. Laura about public records was your oaths of offices. I've received a blank copy of the oath of office. I have not received a signed copy of each one of you. I've been directed to go over to the and I'll look into that. Here's my issue. When I came up here, I popped in and did my public record request with the county, and I popped into Mr. Iordaro's office. Doors wide open, public building. I'm recording. They lost their minds, okay? The woman that sits on the right, I don't know her name. She got aggressive with me, kept jumping in my face. As I backed out, walked out, I said, the county will find out my name later. I don't need to tell you my name. Right now, I am a citizen of the United States of America, and you are a government official. You are beholden to the Constitution of the United States. As I left the building, I was followed out of this building by my government. I went all the way down around the courthouse and around to see who was following me. I stopped, stood there for a few minutes, and no one came. When I came back around, I snuck around to the front of my vehicle, and the sneaky government decided to come walking down and take pictures of my license plate. I have a right to redress my grievances with my government without fear of repercussion. When my government tracks me down and takes pictures of my license plate because I don't want to give you my name, that's a repercussion. So I have come to get involved in local politics to find out what the fuck is happening in my local council. That's a First Amendment protected word.
Not here, sir.
Absolutely.
No.
You're beholden to the Constitution.
Please continue.
I'm done.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Donna Haddock, and I would like to address the immigration that's going here in Wicomico County. If you guys allow our sheriff's department to support ICE, I firsthand saw my dear friend that's been here for 37 years get drug out of his vehicle, assaulted, flown out in the middle of the night to Texas to stand in front of a judge and have that judge ask why that man was standing in front of him because he was in the system, get his green card. $10,000 later for this man to give back. 3 weeks later, meanwhile, his wife, his 4 American-born children, and his daughter that is white in color that was born in the United States, he was allowed to adopt here in the state of Maryland. And this man has to go to a hearing in October to decide whether or not he can continue to keep his daughter. Because if he gets deported, the American child that got adopted by this man may be forced to stay here in the United States to only be put up for adoption again. We need to stop this. These men are getting detained. Their women are afraid to go to food pantries because ICE is standing behind the food pantry signs. Their kids are starving and eating beans and rice because we are detaining their husbands, the one household person that works and pays the bills. I have pictures of ICE standing behind the food pantry line because I followed them after I watched them over and over and over snatch innocent people that have never had a criminal anything, not a speeding ticket. I've got every folder of immigrants that have come to me that have paid their taxes here in the United States of America. And the funny thing is, when we stood here this morning or this afternoon and we did the Lord's Prayer, I'm pretty sure it said, "Our nation under God." We cannot continue to do this to our citizens that are putting back into our community, or we are all going to have nothing when it's over.
Good afternoon. My name is Kinson Raymond, and I work for a local nonprofit called WLC Immigration Services. We're a nonprofit that legally assists immigrants in the field of immigration. So I am actually an immigrant. I'm actually from Haiti. So I've been here for roughly 27 years. So I am now a proud U.S. citizen as well. And this immigrant that we were talking about, I am one of them. I am one that contributes to the economy here in the U.S. since I've been here. I am now 37 years old, but I came here when I was 11. So I know the struggle, and we have, proud immigrants that are working hard, and a lot of business, men and women that are immigrants. So I truly hope that you guys really look into this 287G to know how much it's really destroying families. It's tearing people apart. We all have a role to play. So I just ask that you really look into it and you play your roles. I have to deal with these families on a daily basis, to reach out to ICE. So currently I'm able to help as much as on a limited base, when it comes to like the court system with immigration, but these families don't have the money to waste. So, and we don't have the money as taxpayers to waste as well. So I would ask that you truly look into this and not just believe what you heard out there. So the political agenda is just not right. Okay, thank you.
My name is Paula DeRosa. I am from Wicomico County, and I am here to talk about the 287G. Just to remind you, the community is made of diverse neighbors sharing ideas. And I've heard this council on many times ask, how do we attract other people here? How will we be able to do that when they learn we have signed something saying, if you come here, we're taking you? Our law enforcement, not you guys. Exclusion is not welcoming. The 287G agreement has not received good reviews anywhere. So you will send an undeniable message if it is passed. Please say no to any 287 agreement. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I have 10 copies.
I'm passing out a handout, and I have some extras for the folks in here as well. Patricia Melvin, Wicomico County, District 2 right now, and I think I will be in District 7 in the future. This handout contains information from primary sources, and I've noted them on the handout, specifically ice.gov and congress.gov. So, in the interest of saving time, please read some highlights, and you can go back to these websites and confirm that the information is there. But I'm going to go to page 2, the second bullet point, describing that ICE does cover the cost of training the deputized officers. But the important part is state and local governments shoulder the majority of costs associated with a 287G agreement. Some local enforcement agencies consider the program to be too costly and do not participate, do not renew their agreements, or have terminated them early. Local authorities are responsible. The categories that the local authority, the county, would be responsible for is roughly two groups. The training, which ICE does cover the cost of training. What that means is they have an instructor. So the county will pay for the travel to Brunswick, Georgia, the housing, the per diems during the training, and their salaries while they're gone from Wicomico County. So there's the training bucket, which is a one-time cost per person maybe. But then there's the ongoing cost, of which we shoulder 100% of the hours and overtime. Well, the idea is that the work with ICE would be overtime and that we would pay the overtime. So again, that training takes place at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center near Brunswick, Georgia. So based on congress.gov, a number of counties have terminated their agreements. They entered in these agreements and they terminated them. There's a list of them on page 3. Prince William County, Virginia ended a decade-long agreement due to the effect on the local budget, daily operating costs, and maintenance fees. Costs associated with the program were paid for with cuts to local police and fire departments. Prince William County Police Chief Barry Barnard criticized the 287 agreement, stating that he has seen no data that there is a direct cause of any measurable crime reduction in Prince William County. He also felt it damaged the department's ability to relate with the community, and the county, with Prince William County delegate said we need to use our local dollars to fix our own problems. We have a crime problem in Wicomico County. It's higher than the state average and national average. I really don't want to see our police officers stretched so thin because the 289 program does not offer any money for hours or overtime. In addition, we pay administrative supplies, security equipment, don't know what that is, and ongoing expenses. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. John Fondi Philogen, and representing CATA, Farm Workers Support Committee, and I also represent all the immigrants here. We work with almost all the immigrants, but basically Haitians and Hispanic. So I'm here to support all my fellow brothers and sisters about the 287G. First, I want to say that at the beginning, everybody here heard that it was about criminals, immigrants, but it's a lie. We have a lot of examples. You know that most than I. So it's not about criminals. It's not about people who commit great felonies. They can stop you for stop light, and then. So I mean, basically, what I mean is that the 287G who want that the local police to collaborate with ICE, it's gonna be a huge mess here in Wicomico County. So I want the committee here and everybody who can support in any way that they can to help so that this cannot happen in Wicomico County. And I want to say that, as my brother already said it, we immigrants, we pay taxes, we help in a lot of things for the economy here in Wicomico County. And if you can notice, in Eacher Street, we have a beautiful clinic right there. And you know how Eacher Street was before. So with the immigrants coming here, so that help a lot. So you can see the difference. I want to say that us as immigrants, we help in a lot of fields here, and either medical field, businesses, and everything, in schools, all that. So I think that we're not just criminals. We are here to help, and we are here because something, as my friend said earlier, something put us outside of our countries. Like I've heard that they said my country, I'm from Haiti, they said Haiti is good right now, and they stopped TPS, the temporary protected status, but they put Haiti, they banned Haiti so that American citizens cannot travel over there. So I want you to understand all those, and I'm against 287G. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. All right. Good evening, council members. My name is Lana Foley. I'm a Wicomico resident and taxpayer. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. In reference to the WBOC article that was posted on their website July 25th, 2025, regarding a potential agreement between the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, otherwise known as ICE, and Wicomico County, I am looking to clear up any community misconceptions that Eastern Shore Undercover has recently alleged in their blog post. With that said, I would like to ask 6 short yes or no questions. Is that permissible?
Couldn't answer them, but you can continue. Thank you.
Okay. I find that these are important to ask because in this article, it is saying that Lewis said he has filed paperwork with ICE and spoken with the agency over the phone and via email, but any deal is weeks. Again, this was posted July 25th, possibly even months away from being completed. So my questions are, Sheriff Lewis contacted the United States Immigration and Enforcement regarding entering into a potential partnership. That was a yes or no question. Has a deal been struck for Wicomico County to participate in 287G or any other programs with ICE? Again, yes or no question. Has Sheriff Lewis explored the idea for the Wicomico County Sheriff's Office to assist ICE once someone is arrested on local charges? Yes or no answer. Is it your understanding that the 287G jail model would allow agencies, in this case, the Wicomico County Sheriff's Office, to work with ICE in those efforts? Is it your understanding that any agreement with ICE would require a memorandum of understanding between the Wicomico County Sheriff's Office, the Wicomico County Jail, and either the Wicomico County Council or the Wicomico County Executive? Is it your understanding that County Council or County Executive Giordano offered her support and indicated she would follow the lead of Sheriff Lewis? Also, that County Council President John Cannon also indicated he was on board and would follow Sheriff Lewis. Thank you again for your time.
Thanks, Foley. Ms. Foley, under public comments, it's usually just comments. There's not a debate. There's not an engagement in the process. I'm not really crazy about it, but that's how it is. But if you would give us your information, if you give it to Ms. Hurley when you leave, and we'll make sure that all the questions are answered, not by the council, but probably by Sheriff Lewis as well. Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Good evening, Jim Atkins, Wicomico County. Just want to run through a hodgepodge of things tonight that have been going on. I want to talk about commissions and committees as we talk about the water and sewer. All I'll say concerning that and committees and working with the county executive is look at the Environmental Trust Committee in this county and their recommendations to the executive. And their recommendations are not followed. So why do we think that sanitary commission recommendations would be followed? Secondly, ethics commission, having a hard time finding a lawyer who wants to get in the middle of these subjects. I realize legislation was just recently passed concerning this and getting an outside attorney, but maybe we need to revisit it and possibly work with the surrounding counties to have surrounding counties hear our ethics complaints for this county and let them make a decision, because I filed an ethics complaint. We're approaching 3 months, but we don't have an attorney. So how many more times is this ethics violation going to continue until we get an attorney? Liquor legislation. Not going to get into it other than, and I have fussed at the council previously about this, about open work sessions. The community either has to come up here prior to the open work session and comment about something that they believe or think, but they don't know what's going to be addressed. Or 2 weeks from now, they come to a public comment and make a comment about something that was discussed 2 weeks ago and more than likely has already been decided. So we need something to happen with these work sessions where the community can be involved in these work sessions. We don't need more liquor stores. We don't need to take them away from the restaurants. We don't need to be allowing golf courses to sell liquor at 7 a.m. in the morning. It's just not necessary. We've gotten this far and this long without doing this, so why get into it now? And there's a lot of comments about 287G. It's a very costly program for the county if the county decides to get into it. But all I can tell you is based off the ICE website this morning, contrary to comments, the sheriff has not applied for this program according to the United States government. There's been no application received from Wicomico County. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Allison Grice. I live in Wicomico County. I would like to speak on 287G as well. I implore the council to reject any 287G agreement. And I first want to thank everyone who has spoken on this tonight. It's an incredibly important issue. It's said that the program enhances public safety and aims to increase community security. I say safety and security for whom? I personally will not feel safer if my local law enforcement is beholden to another agency, like ICE. The immigrant community, including those who are here legally, will not feel safer for fear of being racially profiled by mass, potentially untrained ICE agents. And they certainly won't feel safer reporting a crime to their local police department. The 287G program supposedly encourages collaboration between federal, state, and local agencies, which translates to me as all territories are by default mandated to act in accordance with federal orders from above. The federal government should not be involved in micromanaging how local law enforcement allocates their time, money, especially, and resources. This program also diverts local law enforcement from their primary duties, which could easily lead to errors and abuse in identifying immigrants and general neglect of the community abroad. In short, will I feel safer if 287G is passed? No, I will not. Will the community be safer? No. Thank you for your time.
Any other public comment?
My name's Julia Bellamy. I live in Wicomico County. The two concerns I have about 287G are that Wicomico County would lose control over, or would be giving control to the federal government in two cases specifically. One is that when I saw that the Wicomico County could not talk to the media without having two different approvals within ICE. So we could not release any media information without having approval from two different departments in ICE. And the other was that any complaints as to what was going on in, I guess, Wicomico County's jail would be handled exclusively by ICE and by the federal government, and that concerned me. So that's what I wanted to share with you tonight.
Good evening. My name's Debbie Krause. I'm from Bivalve in Wicomico County. And I just want to say it was a great first day at school for my kids. And that, you know, and I was a first grade teacher for 34 years at Chipman over on Lake Street. My heart's there. I want to say also at Westside, we're getting ready to have maybe a state park down there. I know there was a lot of controversy from the first meeting, but I want you to know that when you come down again in September, there's going to be a big powwow again for the state park, that there'll be a lot of positive feedback because there were other community members that are very much for the state park. So that was another thing. The 287G, I have cried every night about what's going on with ICE. It's not right. It's horrible seeing children bused to other countries. It's horrible. And it's not a nice arrest either. It's a group of men tackling people, dragging children away from their parents in front of them. It's not right. We don't want that here. We are a loving community, and we do not need to see that stuff here. There needs to be, the work needs to be done at the immigration courts, allowing people that have been here for 30 years to be here. I know that's not your council, but I just wanted to say that. So thank you for your time.
Any other public comments? All right, seeing none, that concludes public comments. Any council comments? Shaney?
I'm glad to be back. This has been a rough year for me. And I think, number one, how I feel about the liquor legislation, I think everybody knows it's no for me. Our community does not need corner liquor stores and convenience stores. We have enough. We talk about our kids turning to be alcoholics. We have more youth now getting cirrhosis of the liver. So why do we want to bring health issues into our community because someone wants to make money? I think that's all it's about. It's about a dollar bill. But I'm against it, and I will vote no for that. As far as the 287 bill, I think it's terrible. I don't look at news anymore. I know I just lost my sister, and I know how it felt when I lost my sister. Can you imagine how somebody feels when they see their children snatched away or their parents snatched away, and they don't know if they'll ever see them again? And when they build these concentration camps, because that's basically what it is. I call them concentration camps in Amazon. What is it, Amazon or Everglades, wherever it is, swampland or whatever. But that's terrible. That's terrible. I was raised by immigrant. My father that raised me, he married my cousin. He came over in the 40s, and he was from Jamaica. And I watched him how he worked 3 jobs to accumulate. He and the Jamaicans built the first home I lived in, and then he had the other one built that I'm living in now. And he raised 300 pigs, him and another Jamaican, and I used to go and help him feed the Jamaican, but they were working people. My church, Wesley Temple, sponsored the first 6 Haitians that came in our community back in the early 80s. So I'm familiar with some of the struggles that the Haitian community has gone through, and also I've witnessed the accomplishments they have also made in the plus side. I think when people come over here, the main problem is educating them how to become a citizen of the United States of America, because companies are bringing people over here, but they're not really helping them to become a citizen. They just want them to work. And that's not right. When you bring them over here, find them housing, you have to have some kind of support system for them. And when they live over here, teach them how to read English, become English. Don't just down them because they can't speak English. And the last thing I have to say, if you remember the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island, when people were coming over from other countries, you had the little Italian community, you had Chinatown, you had the Jewish community, the little Jewish, I remember the little Jewish corner store. My mother lived in New Jersey. And those people were treated with respect. I don't know if they had their citizenship or not, but we were welcoming people in to our country. Now, we're just treating them any kind of way. I don't think we would treat a dog the way they're treating human beings. And I don't think that we should be proud of the United States of America right now. And anybody says, pick them up, deport them, they don't care, I don't think, they wouldn't want to be deported, because that can happen to you, because they're talking about attacking United States citizens. Us, me, or anybody. I guess if I open my mouth anymore, I might be deported. So I better be quiet. But I'm glad to be back.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Josh?
I'll just say thank everybody thank you all for coming out tonight, and thanks to the folks who are tuning in. Just regarding on that last issue with ICE, that specific situation, usually I say that I don't really like the county to get involved in national politics items, of which there are many. Anybody that knows me knows I have very little faith in the federal government these days, or really for quite a long time. But specifically with ICE, they have a very serious credibility problem with wearing the masks that make them look like they're criminals. Obviously, as has already been said, abducting people in the middle of the night and sending them off to foreign countries, or taking the pastor here locally on the shore who's been here for 30 years and who is not an issue. Clearly they're not being thoughtful about this. But once again, there's nothing that any of us here in this room could possibly do to help to fix the situation in Congress. It's a broken Congress. It's a broken federal government. We have an absolutely decimated, broken immigration system. So I'll just say publicly, I wish we would do better. And as I said at the last meeting, there's no way I would ever support a 287G program. But we really need to dramatically overhaul our immigration system in this country. And I wish Congress would listen. Yeah.
Jeff?
So on a lighter note, thank you, everybody, for coming out. It's always good to see a room full of people talking about the easy stuff, the tough stuff. Doesn't matter. It's good to get it out. If we haven't noticed, the schools are in session. So there's a nice little buzz around town. Just please be safe. Stay off your phone. Watch the kids. They're running in between cars. They're all excited. So just want everybody to be safe and alert. And that's all I got.
Presidential comments. I'd also like to say thank you all for coming out. It's very important for us to have, respectful comments, to maintain decorum within this chamber, and that's how we get things done successfully. And it's much more positive environment, much easier way, actually, to get things done, period. So we do appreciate that. We will respond to your questions. As I said, make sure Ms. Hurley has that. We never get involved in back and forth debates. If not, it can become very chaotic, and we try to avoid that. But we'll take all your comments into consideration without a doubt. Should we find out that we're engaged in the future in any type of deliberations in regard to this? As I know right now, everything is on a very hard stop, but we do not know how it's going to develop. There will be public engagement should anything move forward, before anything should move forward in this county. So we'll let you know that anyway. So again, thank you very much for your respectful comments, and we appreciate your taking the time to be here very much. Entertain a motion from council to adjourn from legislation to go into open work sessions.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Legislative meeting is adjourned. Take 5. John. All right, we're going to take a 5-minute recess, if you don't mind. Reconvening as the Wicomico County Council and Legislative in work session, open work session for legislative session 2025-17 for September 2nd, 2025. First item on the agenda is the Habitat for Humanity. Molly Hilligoss, glad to have you here. and we will give you the floor if you'd like.
Great, thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it. And for the record, I'm Molly Hillegas, President and CEO of Habitat for Humanity of Wicomico County. And what I thought, since there are folks in the audience and watching that may not know everything that we do, I would give just a brief overview.
Sure.
Habitat for Humanity, we are an affiliate from Habitat for Humanity International. We are one of over 1,000 affiliates across the United States and Canada. We were the second affiliate in the state of Maryland, and we are a private 501c3. We raise all of our money locally and from foundations. Some of our funding comes from the state, which I'll go into that in a little bit. So we have an independent board of directors. We have 2 licensed loan officers in our office, and we underwrite our own mortgages. Currently, we have 105 mortgages that we service in-house. So we not only raise the money, build the house, or renovate the home, or do the critical home repair, but we manage those loans in-house. And that's a lot. I think that folks don't realize all that we do. We have a professional staff of 17 people currently, including an additional 5 AmeriCorps members, and that includes all of our Restore staff. All right, we have 2 main programs, our new construction, which is the affordable housing piece that we're going to talk about, and our home preservation, which is critical home repair, aging in place, and things like that. So your constituents that are older adults on a fixed income that can't afford a home repair, that we are doing a tremendous amount of work right here in Wicomico County. In fact, for that critical home repair program, we have served 147 families since 2013. 51 of those projects were done in the last 2 years. And then for our affordable homeownership program, we have helped 94 families become homeowners since 1987. I'll note that just in the last 11 years, we have added $2.9 million in property value to Wicomico County tax rolls. And of course, I want to say thank you to you all for, we've talked about this in the past, the cannabis tax revenues have really helped our agency to make a positive impact on the lives of the older adults in the community with critical home repairs. And we've been able to leverage those funds. We took the original $100,000 in the CRRF fund managed by the local management board, and we turned that into $1.3 million just for critical home repairs. So this, I wanted to just make sure you could see in terms of state dollars, federal dollars, private dollars, and local dollars matched. So the local dollars matched, that's the cannabis tax revenue grant. The private dollars for FY26, that is actually a Lowe's grant for low-income homeowners. The federal dollars, that is a community development block grant through the city of Salisbury, and the state dollars, the $300,000, that is the poverty plumbing grant. It's a 2-year grant from the state of Maryland for homeowners that earn under 50% of the area median income. These would be constituents in your district that maybe their kitchen isn't working, like the water's not running, or a shower's not running, or the hot water might be working in one bathroom, but another bathroom in the home isn't. The home needs to be repiped. It's those types of large projects that we have been granted. So that's pretty exciting. I will say that all of these funds are reimbursement, which means we have to raise the money, spend it, and then request reimbursement. So it is very, very challenging. I already kind of talked about the leveraging and how we did that, but we really worked to change our mindset and we were thinking about how do we make sure everyone knows what the problem is and potential solutions. You guys have heard from me multiple times during public comment talking about the need and, my concern that we might need to build the county might need to build another nursing home if something didn't happen. Well, you guys really helped you listened and you heard the call and it's tremendous what we're able to do. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about new construction. So this house that you see here in this picture, this is the house on Grace Street that we just finished and we sold. We actually built that home back in 2009 and sold it in 2010 for $107,000. But this year, you could see construction costs have literally skyrocketed. And so I just gave a couple points here so you could see the difference between our costs for an HVAC system, electrical and plumbing. We're looking at costs more than, in some cases, close to tripling. And so this obviously is a problem. It's a perfect storm, truly, for the families living here. It's not just Wicomico County, but you guys need to look at this. This is really shocking. So 15 years ago, the median home prices was $138,000. Now we're over $250,000. This is the county. This isn't just Habitat. That's an 81% increase. But incomes have not gone up by 81%. We're barely at 20%. We're not even to 20%. And so with our construction costs, more than doubling, and then cost of rents increasing from $837 a month for a two-bedroom, two-bath, to now it will be close to $1,700. That's another 88% increase. So how are renters supposed to become homeowners, even with our help, when they struggle to make the rent? How are they supposed to come up with the down payment and the closing costs with all of this? It's really difficult. And then how are we as a nonprofit agency supposed to raise more money when incomes haven't gone up? Where's it coming from? So this is just the low-hanging fruit. I'm just asking for you guys to think about just waiving the property taxes while we're constructing a home or renovating a home. We have so many other costs in addition to construction. We have the holding cost of cutting the grass. For some reason, the city really wants us to cut the grass. I'm trying to be a little humorous here, but it's really challenging, the holding cost of renovating.
How long does it take to normally rehab a house for you guys?
For us to rehab a home, it really depends. So if we purchase a home that's vacant, we could renovate that home if we had the funds in about 3 months, 2 to 3 months. If we purchase a home that has a tenant located in it, and they're not interested in buying the house, and we have to wait for them to find another place to live, it could take 6 months to a year because there's just not enough affordable housing for folks. So 4 years ago, we purchased a package of 6 homes from a retiring landlord for about $700,000. And it was great because we were able to get a 100% loan from a bank, and it gave us time. We had 3 years to be able to rehab those homes. But then COVID hit. So then it wasn't easy for folks to find new places to live during COVID. And then it just took longer. So we'll sell those last 2 homes, which you have in front of you, a list of the homes that we'll be selling soon. The last 2 of those 6 will be selling by January, February at the latest. So we had to get an extension on our loan with the bank. But it also means that because we got the financing to purchase those homes, that the new homeowners have to get their own first mortgage instead of us carrying the mortgage in-house, which means we need to raise even more money, not just to pay off the bank, but raise the money to rehab the home. Some other things here are ideas, advocacy, and policy changes that I'm working on. Things like working with an investor to provide down payment assistance with a shared appreciation component. We're asking Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development to go to the bond market and offer a deep subsidy down payment assistance that could go to Habitat affiliates using the the state of New York has a model that does this. The interest rate that those homeowners are paying is anywhere from 3 to 4%, which makes it easier to do what we do. We advocated to the Rural Maryland Council for funding to address the affordability gap with the homes that we're doing right now, and we were granted that, so we're waiting on that grant agreement, but that'll be about $360,000 coming to help us sell 8 more houses. And then we've asked Habitat Capital, which is a subsidiary of Habitat for Humanity International, to also consider an innovative pilot with a deep subsidy to address the affordability gap. So in high level, if we have to sell a house for fair market value, we'll say $250,000, and the homeowners that we're working with can only qualify for $150,000, right? Then we're short $100,000 per house. That's the affordability gap. And this isn't just for Habitat partner families. This is your constituents that are on that low to moderate income level are never going to become homeowners if we collectively, and I don't mean just you guys, I mean the nation, needs to come up with how do we address this affordability gap. Other Maryland counties are already doing things like with new subdivisions, a portion of the subdivision is mandated to be affordable, and those counties are working with those habitats. Montgomery County has a deep down payment assistance program that they can layer with the Maryland Mortgage Program. They offer $25,000 for their I believe it's their county employees. I would have to get back to you on that. But so county employees want to be homeowners, that would be an opportunity for you guys to think about. And it's just another option of addressing this affordability gap. And it doesn't have to be a handout. So most down payment assistance these days is in the form of a deferred lien on the property. So when the family goes to sell that property in the future or refinance it, then the state or the county gets paid back. So there are ways to accomplish this and create more homeowners without a handout.
I was gonna ask, I don't know if everybody's okay with the tax incentive or the tax break on the property taxes, but similarly to what you were just saying, is there any way that we could put it on like the back end of the loan to where if not everyone's okay with saying, let's take $1,200 off the taxes this year, why don't we add it to the loan? That way you can still get away with not having, I say get away, but still not have to worry about the taxes and while you're renovating the house, but when you sell the house, you can lump it into a loan, and then that way it's still paid for. I don't know if that's on the table. I don't know if that's thought of.
So a pause on the property taxes while we're developing it, and then making that final payment, like let's say it takes a couple years in your example, let's say that's $2,400. We have no problem, at the end paying the county for the taxes that were just paused. The state of Maryland already has enabling legislation to allow you to do a tax credit. So if you were to do a pause or put it into a deferred status, you already have the authority.
State of Maryland, with that, enabling legislation will allow us to set the terms, as been stated, and the scope. And I think by evaluating what the definition is of the terms and the scope, that I'm hoping could be a waiver instead of just an outright credit. I think that's very possible. We've talked to Mr. Benson about it. He seems to think it's feasible. A lot of this, more so, I think, with the legislation that we're going to be looking at. The current legislation, that, as it was written, talks a lot about credit, but there was a bit of a misunderstanding as far as what the end game is. And as you know, that is a waiver, which would just defer it to allow you a greater cash flow in your operation.
I mean, a waiver would be terrific. If you would like to amend that, we would be open to that. It would definitely help us with our cash flow, for sure.
Okay, right, and we appreciate that. I think the real key here is how we're going to develop the process in-house through the finance department in understanding how to create that pause in the billing cycle, and then to also know that to flag those particular properties so that when they are sold, they have some mechanism by which to recognize that and then implement the billing.
Right, so when we sell a home, all that paperwork goes through the county tax assessment office anyway, so.
Yep, I got you. Joe?
I see Pam's in the room. Could you come up and explain how that would work? And I guess I have a question. Do you rent homes?
We don't like to rent homes, but we also don't like vacant homes.
Yeah,
So if we have a partner family who has finished at least 100 of their sweat equity hours, and they're still working on saving for their closing cost part, we will allow them to move in and rent the home for the amount that their future mortgage payment will be, so that they can have stable housing, and we've had no problems with that.
My question then would be, if you did a home and we give the tax waiver and you didn't sell it and they moved in and were renting it, how long, I guess that would delay, so we would have to put a time limit on this, so.
Right. The enabling legislation maxes at 5 years.
Yeah, so Pam, how are you?
Good, I'm back.
How are you going to figure this one out? Huh?
So I have talked with my staff, and we would have to, so the hard way would be for us to get the list from Habitat annually, as this is written, and track it manually. We believe, but it's not something within the days that I've had this, that we have tested in the Munis system, that we could potentially set up a code in Munis that would allow us to track until the settlement time. So there's a harder way, which is doable, Excel spreadsheet, and keep track of the list. We believe that the system would be able to help us with that tracking as well, but we would most likely do a dual system at the beginning anyways, just to make sure that we didn't miss anything. May I make another comment about the legislation as written, if I may?
Yeah, but that's going to be all rewritten.
Okay, there's one other piece that I would like kind of spelled out clearly in whatever is written out, if at all possible, is that at the time of settlement, so as you know, when you go to settlement, let's say they've owned the property for 6 months of a fiscal year. So they've been waived for 2 fiscal years, and then they have another 6 months that are not waived. They've been deferred for 2 years, and now it's December 31st, and they're going to settlement on a property. So now they have 2.5 years in deferral, but there's another half year that should be the new property owner. We need to make sure that the legislation is clear that the new property owner then picks up the 6 months, because the way this is written is that we waive the whole thing at the beginning of the fiscal year. There's no bill due to them. But at the point in time, we don't want them to be charged for the last 6 months of a fiscal year. It just needs to be very clear that when a waiver is happening, they're not paying the full year. They're only paying the 6 months.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Mr. Hurley was taking notes, which is good.
So
I also think that we should implement, just to keep things simple, is to not impose any type of an interest charge on this.
No, that it would be straight amount of what was intended to be the. so this is where council would also need to be clear, is that the property does not qualify for, or the properties, if paid for before August 31st, get a discount. Is council asking us to count it as the discounted amount or as the September 30th amount, which is the full amount of the taxes? So that's something that would need to be put in this as well. I would make the assumption that it would be the full amount of the taxes, that they wouldn't get a discount that saves them money overall. But that is Pam Olin, Finance Director, looking out for the finances. That is ultimately not my decision, but my recommendation would be, it would be the billed amount, which is the full amount of the taxes based on the assessed value.
We want to make it as easy for you to do as it can be.
Well, my recommendation would be the September 30th amount, no interest, but that the legislation includes language as to, on the date of sale, that the Habitat only gets a waiver for the period of time that they own it during a fiscal year, that the new owners are responsible for the remainder.
And those amounts could change if there's an assessment within, within that 5-year period, hypothetically, if there's a reassessment.
Yes.
Then it would change.
Yeah, and it would change the value of, again, each fiscal year, the value of the property would be at whatever is the assessed value of the property.
You're right. Yeah.
So is there a drop dead date, like 5 years on this?
Yes. It's in here now. Right in here, it says, it specifically has 5
So
years.
in other words, whether the property's sold or not,
Exactly.
they're going to have to pay taxes?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And Molly doesn't want to hold them for 5 years.
Do not want to hold them for 5
And
years.
I have a feeling she seldom does.
Well, I understand that, but, so.
Right.
Right.
So again, I understand that if we are changing this to a waiver, this would be rewritten.
Yes.
But again, those couple things need to be included in that rewrite. I do like the fact that we would get a list on April 1st. We would also ask that anytime they purchase one, they flag it to us in the middle of the fiscal year. Because again, on the reverse side, they purchase a property 6 months in, they'd get a waiver for the ending 6 months of a fiscal year, not the beginning. So on their settlement sheet, they would have a waiver for the last 6 months of a fiscal year.
Do you think it would be sensible, makes sense to note that once the sale is been completed, that it's the responsibility of the organization to contact us to let us know of that sale? I'm not saying there has to be a penalty to it.
Right.
Just
No,
part of
it
that
is
would be required.
so any property that sells within the county has to reach out to county finance to find out what the taxes are due. If they're within the city, they also have to reach out to the city if there's any city taxes due or what the tax amount is. They also have to reach out if there's any, so I would ask that it's in here blatantly that they do inform us, but to actually go to settlement, they have to talk to us anyways. But at least it's in here so that we have something to point to. Sorry, frog in the throat.
You want water?
Nope, I have one.
Okay.
I just hit the back of the throat wrong, so.
Any other questions from council members? Is everybody okay with where we're headed with this?
When it gets rewritten.
Yes.
Yeah.
May we have before it goes back or goes to a legislative session, could we make sure we're all in agreement with language in another work session?
Yeah.
No problem with that. Yeah. No problem with that.
And that way we can talk about it instead of having to try to talk about it on the fly.
Yeah, we don't want them to have any missteps. That's fine.
And I could, if you needed me to do a shorter presentation, I could do that.
You did perfect.
I just had a couple more, can I just put one more plug in?
Go ahead.
So if any of you know bankers and there's a potential for a property real estate owned, we are interested in, purchasing properties in the future along with short sales, retiring landlords, if you know any. Sponsorships for Chefs for Habitat, that's coming up, so we really need to raise a lot of money for what we do. That's March 7th. If you would like to come out and volunteer on a build day, I would gladly put you to work. Be a lot of fun, too. And then we're always looking for mentors that would help our partner families with budgeting and finance, if that happens to be your strength. Or you could just, serve on a committee or, recommend a constituent that might want to get involved. So anyway, thank you.
A question.
Yes, sir.
You made a comment earlier about Wicomico County needing to build another nursing home. Can you explain what you meant by that?
So that was one of the comments I made several years ago before we received all the funds for our critical home repair program. I was so concerned that by 2030, we will have 25% of our population will be over the age of 65. And less than 5% of the homes built are accessible. So our county's not alone. So homes just were not built for aging people to live in. And so we need to think about that and how we're going to take care of our older adult constituents and friends and all that. So, yeah, we need more accessible housing built.
At that same time, just as said, the aging in place has been more of the model that we've been in for the last couple decades, and so we now have a whole lot more people who are aging in place in homes that are, not quite set up for that. And so we talk about this on the Commission on Aging, which I serve quite often. We actually do have a couple spaces for housing for older folks who are, it's either getting closed down or it's getting renovated. And so there's a real squeeze there. But this still is a really, really big issue that I don't think anyone that gets nearly enough attention.
Yeah, and my concern on a local level with when the subsidies start disappearing for folks on low income, so that they may be getting Section 8 rent assistance, and if they're over the age, if they're an older adult and that subsidy goes away, where are they going to live? So it's in our best interest to try to help older adult homeowners live out their life in the home that they own.
I have a comment to make. On the nursing home, many older, like me, I'm not going to a nursing home. There's a lady that gets $13,000 a year, and she's paying $811 rent right now. And the original construction or the original development was for low income based on your income. They sold the place and the rent, they're no longer doing, they only have 5 apartments available for subsidy. And as you said, subsidy is being cut down. We do need more affordable.
Yes, we do.
Affordable senior housing with elevators, if you do, 3 floors. But we need more of that. And I think the ones that don't need to be in a nursing home, they need to have affordable housing.
Absolutely.
And I also think that, and I'm glad to see that you're working with Salisbury Neighborhood Housing Service, because I was wondering how the component of preparing them to become a homeowner, counseling and things like that, so I'm glad to see that. But I also think that we need transitional housing. Transitional housing, and put a limitation on it, 2 years. Because if you know the project that we were working on when I was on the city council, the building across from the church, Cathedral Love, that was supposed to be for transitional housing for 2 years and to prepare the people to become homeowners, but it went awry. It wasn't supported by some council members. But we need to think about some kind of way, maybe work with Salisbury Neighborhood Housing or something, or another nonprofit to do transitional housing to
a
prepare
very
these
good
people
point.
for homeowners. Yep.
Thanks, Shane. Thank you.
Congratulations on your home blessing
Thank you.
on Grace Street.
Thank you.
Thank you.
93, 94?
That was 93, and then we'll celebrate the next one next
door.
door, hopefully next month.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome. Very nice.
I will invite you all.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item we have is our Board of License Commissioners. They're here to discuss some proposed legislation.
Not going for it.
So,
For the record, Jennifer Jordan, Chair of the Wicomico County Board of License Commissioners.
Mr. Duvall, the attorney for the board.
Thank you so much for having us in this evening. We have 3 items that have been sent to you prior to this evening's work session that we were hoping to get a letter of support from the council on. I will start with the first one. The first one is a request to amend our Class A beer, wine, and liquor license so that it is not required that the owner of a Class A beer, wine, and liquor establishment also be the owner and operator of a restaurant that holds a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license. To make it abundantly clear, we are not asking to change the number of Class A licenses in the county. Wicomico County currently has 3 Class A beer, wine, and liquor licensed establishments. That is staying. We do not want to increase that at all. We're simply asking that, as the only county currently in the state of Maryland that has the requirement, we're just asking to have that separated out. We feel, the board feels that in conversations with our establishments that hold the Class A beer, wine, and liquor license and having to hold also and operate a restaurant holding a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license, that it's an undue burden on these 3 establishments. So we're the only county, Wicomico County is the only county in the state of Maryland that has this requirement. This license, the Class A beer, wine, and liquor license, was put into place before any of us got into the positions that we're in right now. So that's our request, is just to merely separate that out from the Class A license.
So you say you're not interested in changing the number, but if we change the law, or they change the law in Annapolis with support from the council, how do you deny somebody if they want to come in and do that? What excuse will you say if they meet all the requirements to do this?
Well, the law as it states now only allows Wicomico County to have 3 Class A beer, wine, and liquor licenses. We are only, as a county, allowed to have 3. We cannot not have any more. The only way that gets changed is if someone were to come to you as the council and say, we would like the opportunity to have more Class A beer, wine, and liquor licenses in Wicomico County.
So this would be the first step?
This is not the first step. Yeah. This is simply keeping 3 Class A beer, wine, and liquor licenses and removing the requirement that they also have to operate a restaurant and have a Class B.
Mr. Holloway, that provision that limits the number of licenses to 3 is in the current law, and it's not being asked to be changed as a part of this. So if that were ever to increase that number, that would have to come on the recommendation, as I understand the way the process works with the delegation in Annapolis, on a recommendation from this body as well as the county executives.
So if we change this law, that will, well, like I just said, that's the first step. Other people will say, well, I have the facilities to do this. I have the support. I want to do it. And then we would try. Then they would try to change the law in Annapolis, so we would have more than 3.
Well, you could say that, Joe, but I think the idea here is that this, to me, I've always thought this is a real antiquated system. This is so old. I'm not sure if the premise of this was the fact that they used to think that if you were going to buy liquor and you were going to eat, then you would have so much food in your system to offset the alcohol and you wouldn't drive home drunk. But that's not what's happening at all. It may have been in the past, but now they're going to the stores, they're buying it, and they're leaving with it. So whether there's a restaurant, whether you're walking through a restaurant, whether there's a restaurant next door, has no ramification whatsoever on the individuals who are going in there to purchase liquor.
No, it doesn't. And if
Yeah.
you look at our establishments that are currently operating, if you look at Hoppers, Hoppers has their restaurant, their liquor store, it's in the same complex, but they're not going into the liquor store and then going into the restaurant. It's a requirement that Richard and I spoke. We spoke with Ms. Travis, who's been at the board for 25 years. This has been in place longer than she's been at the board, and we've speculated as to why that restaurant requirement was attached to the Class A license, but we do not know. It's purely speculation.
We've been unable to ascertain what the original rationale for the law was.
And I will say,
it would only be a guess on my part to say what the reason was. I don't know enough about why it came into being all those years ago.
Question I have, if you're saying a person don't have to have a restaurant, is that what you're trying to say?
we're saying that if you have one of the 3 Class A beer, wine, and liquor licenses that Wicomico County is allowed, if the council is in support of this measure, those operators would not also have to run a restaurant and hold a Class B beer, wine, and liquor.
What type of stores would be doing that? What type of place would be selling?
So if we take, so we have 3 right now in the county. So if we take Hoppers, Hoppers currently right now has one of the Class A beer, wine, and liquor licenses. They also have a restaurant where they have a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license. So if the council supports this and it moves forward, Hoppers could then make the decision, I'm going to have my Class A beer, wine, and liquor license and have my liquor store, but now I'm not required by law to also operate a restaurant.
He could close the restaurant and
Right.
continue to operate.
Not only that, but, yeah, he
Class
could
A.
close, the thing is if any of the 3,
Any of the 3.
if they were to find that the restaurant business was not working out for them, they were losing money in the restaurant business,
Absolutely.
they could divest themselves of that and still run the liquor, still have the liquor store, but, not try to carry a
Right.
restaurant business that's not making any money.
Right.
If that were the case.
Exactly, and it has been varying degrees of success with our Class A's and the restaurants. There have been some issues, there haven't been some issues, so this is simply a process to simplify it, to quite honestly bring Wicomico County in line with every other county in the state of Maryland and take away the requirement that there has to be a restaurant.
Question too, why can't we be different? Why do we have to follow
Oh, we can
every county?
absolutely
That's what I want to know.
100% be different.
It's just like a child saying, well, so-and-so did it, why can't I?
Right.
Why can't we be different?
We're the only county that limits their Class A beer, wine, and liquor licenses to 3.
I'm
So-
just saying,
And that's fine.
I don't believe.
Absolutely, we are not trying to change that.
That's fine.
We do not want to change that.
I'd like to also
Not at all.
note that the county dispensaries are not required to have a restaurant. Is that right?
To my knowledge, they are not now.
So how is that fair that a private business is restricted to having a restaurant, but the county dispensary is not required to have a restaurant? That to me doesn't make any sense. That's not fair.
I don't know the answer to that. It was before
I know.
my time, but yes.
I just wanted to make sure that everyone.
Right, you're 100%. Our county dispensaries are not required to operate a restaurant.
Just so everyone's aware of, I know you all are in this industry and this group, so you throw away, you say Class A, Class B, people are still trying to catch up with what all that means, what
Right.
that. So as you've mentioned, we've got 3, one of those being obviously the 3 are, I guess, Boonies was one?
Boonies currently has one, Hoppers, and
Hoppers.
then Bruce Abresh on Nanacoke Road.
You may not know this. I spoke to our staff person. Booney surrendered
Oh, my
that
apologies.
license.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
really?
that you know.
Boonies has surrendered.
So
I guess.
So there's one that would be available, but only one.
Right, and then the other 2 are currently
Even if you
held.
adopt the amendment, only one would be.
We only have 2 right now.
2, according, and I apologize because I was
That's all
not brought
right.
up to speed on that, 2 according to
didn't
Mr.
know.
Duval, yes.
So,
Just a question in my hand. So I guess, let's say Hoppers did decide to close, and let me back it up first also. We say Class A beer, wine, liquor.
Yes.
Package store, that means they can sell
Beer, wine, and
liquor, right?
Yes.
Our actual county dispensary, if you go to that, they can't sell all those, correct? They can sell.
They can't sell beer.
Right, so they're not equal,
Right.
just to be clear. But I guess in this case, let's say Hoppers decides to say, you know what, the restaurant, not my thing.
Right.
I'm not into food, I'm into liquor. Could they make that entire facility a liquor store? What's the process, I guess, from going, from how do we, or how do you all then control the amount of space, or does it just become one giant depot?
I answer this one.
Liquor depot, or is this something that, do they have to come back to you for a license?
They would have to come back to the board and request an expansion of, under your hypothetical, they would have to come back to the board and ask for an expansion of the licensed space to branch the current liquor store into a larger space. That application would be a regular application, which would be advertised in the newspaper. The property would be posted. There would be a public hearing on whether or not the expansion should be granted. Citizens that were opposed to it could come before the board and be heard on their opposition to that. That's how that process would work. To further answer your question, there is no, now that I'm thinking about it, there is no square footage space limitation on a Class A store that I'm aware of in our code.
Gotcha. And just one other question, I guess, did one of the current, or is this a request that was put on you all, or was this a situation where we're just looked at state law and like, hey, we're
So this was a situation that arose with one of our Class A's with a little bit of a hiccup in trying to obtain a restaurant to run, to also keep the Class A establishment open. So once that was brought to our attention and seeing the process and the struggles and the hoops and the hurdles that was happening with that, we started looking at it more in depth and realizing, is there a way that we can simplify this, bring us in line, bring us up to date to 2025, still make it accessible for our 3 Class A without the undue burden?
Seems like you could have a law saying that you'd have to have a clothing store at a liquor store. There's no really any bearing as to what a restaurant has to do with a liquor, except for maybe some unfounded ideas from, 1850 or something like that, again, where they were going to buy it and drink it there. Not happening.
And ride their horse home.
This didn't.
Probably right.
This law, how long has this law been in place? Because I can remember when we only had county liquor stores, we had nobody selling liquor like Boonies or whoever you have now. So how long is this law that allows restaurants to have this liquor store next door to them or incorporated in their business? When was that passed?
Okay, so just to flip that, it's not allowing the restaurant to have the liquor store, it's requiring the liquor store to have the restaurant.
Yeah. So how long has that law been in
So
place?
it's been greater than 25 years. Nobody currently on staff knows our statutes that we went back to look, we could not find an enactment date on that. So I honestly don't know.
It's a decree from King George.
So it was created at one time for somebody. But and I remember when that wasn't. I don't remember it being done, but I remember when it was enacted because you only had county liquor stores.
So sometime between when
I was
you remember that and
14 or 15 when I first started going to liquor stores.
If that's what happened, Mr. Holloway, it wouldn't be the first time that a targeted piece of alcohol legislation made its way into the county code.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's the answer, but it wouldn't be the first time.
The first restaurant that had one of the liquor store, was one on Pecan Square. And in order for them to sell the alcohol, they had to have a
Restaurant, right.
restaurant.
To follow the
And that was
code.
the first one I saw, where it was mandatory. I think, was it Buster's or whatever the name of the
Oh, it's been,
place was.
oh my
I
God,
think
it's
they had-
been quite a few
And I forgot
different.
the name of the restaurant.
It's been Buster's, it's been Lido
been three or
Pizza,
four.
it's been
Yeah,
quite a few.
but it's been
Buster's
three or
is right.
four restaurants. It's been 3 or 4 restaurants there.
Yeah.
But they have the liquor store there, and I
Right.
think the very first one, if they wanted to sell liquor, they had to have. a
They had to have the restaurant, right? Yeah.
Just,
Yes.
or sorry, just one last more question. I guess, so just to be clear, where do we sell liquor in Wicomico County?
Right now, you're selling liquor at the 2 county dispensaries.
Okay.
You're selling it at Hoppers. You're selling it at, and I apologize, I don't know the name of the establishment on Nanticoke Road.
It's in Pecan Square.
It's the Pecan Square store. We were selling it at Boonies, but they just surrendered their license.
Okay, so we've got those 3 Class A and then the 2.
Yes, so we have 3 Class A licenses that are available. 2 are held, 1 was just surrendered, and then we have the 2 dispensaries.
Any other questions on this?
3 dispensaries.
I'm sorry, 3 dispensaries.
There's another, I
Yes.
don't want to belabor
apologize.
this, but there's another piece. So current law disallows one individual from holding a multiple license. By implication, the current holders of the Class A's, by implication, because the law requires them to also hold a Class B, they're exempt from that requirement, that prohibition by implication. If you were to send this amendment forward, we're going to need to exempt from the prohibition the dual license holders that would still be in place, if you follow. Did I explain that in a way you could?
You said again.
I don't think I did a very good job, but, so if this were to pass, you no longer have to have the restaurant license in order to hold the A. Current law says you cannot hold more than one, an individual cannot hold more than one license, but there are exceptions to that. So we're also asking that the current Class A, Class B joint license holders be exempted from that prohibition on holding more than one license.
So
That's sort of a housekeeping measure.
it is a housekeeping.
It's not really
yeah.
relevant.
It's part of the packet, but.
Right.
Yeah.
And it would be part of the amendment to the
Right.
current law.
Understood.
Not changing any of the number of licenses.
Right. Any other questions?
Yeah, you said there was a hiccup with one of the license holders. That's the reason you moved forward with this. What was that problem?
It was just the challenge of finding a restaurant. Honestly, it was the challenge of finding a restaurant to operate in addition to operating.
They already got them.
I'm sorry?
I say they were already full. Who was?
They were having trouble keeping it.
The
open, Mr.
ownership had
Oliver.
changed on the restaurant.
Okay.
And so they were having trouble finding another owner to come in.
They have, do they have a requirement that they have to sell so much food compared to so much liquor, like they do in a bar?
If under the Class B, beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license, yes, there is that
But Class
requirement.
A?
But not under the Class
Okay.
A. No, the Class A is a separate license. Does not have a, does it, the Class A it doesn't have a food requirement with it.
Just for last clarity, Mr. Duvall, I guess the question, say if Hoppers theoretically decided to get rid of the restaurant, just for coming back to that, did you say, so there is not a square footage or ceiling, right?
That's correct.
So would that be a part of the legislation, I guess?
If you,
Want it to be, we could.
if in your view as a group you wanted to do that,
But to expand,
but-
it would have to come through.
they would have to come,
through the
they would have to come through us.
Yeah.
Right, they would have to come through us, present their expansion plans,
Yeah.
the reasons behind it, the need for it, and then the board would review it and decide whether to approve or not approve it.
Second item we have is the,
The second item is our current golf course license. Again, this license has been in place for more than 25 years. We do not know why the start time was 10 a.m. We have had requests from our 2 public golf courses, Green Hill Country Club and Nutters, that they would like the ability to sell alcohol earlier than a 10 a.m. start time. This helps them with their tournaments that they're having, that they're recruiting. We're looking at that as the ability to bring more tournaments to Wicomico County, that they can start with these golf courses and play at these golf courses, and then also it's a revenue stream for these golf courses. We did review the neighboring counties and found that most every county surrounding us, actually every county surrounding us, starts their sales earlier than 10 a.m. So again, bringing us in line with what our neighboring counties are doing. It's designed, honestly, to bring the tournaments to Wicomico County, so they're not going to Dorchester County, they're not going to Worcester County, they're coming to our golf courses here, and then it's also providing additional revenue stream for these golf courses.
I thought the only people that drank before 10 a.m. were people fishing.
It's amazing, Mr. Holloway, how many people want to start a round of golf with a Bloody Mary or a mimosa.
Well,
They're going to be playing drunk, in other words, playing
I've
golf.
played in a lot of charity golf
That's what you're
tournaments. And I don't recall any of them starting that early. And I don't recall ever having the desire to, start drinking alcohol that early. I'm not saying I'm going to be against this, but
Right.
to me, that's kind of an unusual request. I don't see the need necessarily.
Right.
However, having said that, I'm not necessarily opposed if it's antiquated and needs to be changed, but I had a hard time understanding that that request from our two golf courses.
Well, and in all honesty, Mr. Ennis, when we received the requests from our golf courses, this is something that they had been requesting for years. We did do a survey of the counties surrounding us, and I can tell you that Talbot County, their hours of sale at a golf course start at 7 a.m. Dorchester County starts at 7 a.m. Anne Arundel County starts at 6 a.m. and Worcester County starts at 9 a.m.
What's most important here is that the habits of the individual golfers, I don't think you're really going to see that great of an impact. You really don't. I mean, I golf. I hardly ever see that many golfers drinking even at 10 a.m.
Right.
So I think it's inconsequential, but yes, if it's going to help with tournaments and they're saying that the overall numbers might change for the tournament, that's economic development.
Right.
That's good. You're going to see the tournaments that are going to be here instead of in Cambridge
That's what we're hoping.
or in Worcester County, and that is a reality.
Yes.
It really is. And
That's
I
what
think
we're
that we should try to be open to this just simply as an economic development matter.
I have another question. When they
Sure.
promote golf tournaments, if we promote it,
Right.
is one of the requirements from the person who wants to have a tournament, alcohol served at 7 a.m.?
I don't know if they specify.
know.
Well, Ms. Shields, I don't know. I don't run a golf course. So I don't know if they specify we can start serving alcohol at 7 a.m., but from what I'm hearing from our golf courses that have repeatedly requested to us, not necessarily it has to happen, but it allows them the opportunity that if a golf course is being used for a tournament and that tournament wishes to start alcohol sales early, they have the ability to say, yes, we can do that.
Can they get a special permission for it when they have the tournament?
They cannot.
Start, okay, well, I'm not reading, that's too early.
So,
That's correct.
Hold on, James, go ahead, James.
I was going to kind of ask the same question. I was just curious. That's what's holding up a lot of tournaments is just the start time for selling alcohol?
I'm just repeating what our
know,
golf
I know,
courses
I'm
have
just-
asked, so I don't, honestly, I don't know.
No, but
I just
nobody
know
plays
that
golf
it has been a repeated request to our board from our golf courses
Yeah.
that the time gets earlier than 10 a.m.
Okay.
So what we did is we said, okay, we hear you. We understand the economic ability that comes with being able to host tournaments. We understand in this day and age, revenue is hard to come by in any shape or form. So let's see what we can do to help you out with that. So we then polled our neighboring counties, and we thought, okay, where do we stand with that? Are we looking at something that is, to your point, Ms. Shields, completely, we don't need that. It's not something that happens. And we were as surprised as most anybody to find out that 7 a.m. and 6 a.m. start times are happening all around us.
You got to wait for the dew to dry.
Jeff?
wow, we've gone from a landfill in crisis to drinking at 7 a.m. on the golf course.
Erica.
Maybe that's why.
How cool is that? There's no current law that says, and for the record, I do not golf. So what I know about golf will fit into that camp. There's no current law that says that as a golfer, I can't put a miniature or a flask into my golf bag and drink at 7 a.m. currently, right?
To my knowledge, no, there is not.
You're not allowed to bring your own alcohol to a golf.
Technically, you're not allowed to bring your
Golf
own, but
courses do not
if
permit.
you
Well, there's a
sneak it
whole
in,
lot of
that's-
golfers in violation of that law then.
Right.
Not one
I
of
see
them. I
Mr.
get it.
Duval laughing. Could the county be perceived as, if we agree to this, could the county be perceived as promoting irresponsible drinking at 7 a.m.?
In my belief,
I
no.
think that's a political question.
I don't think you're going to notice any
Good question.
at all.
But it's a question that's in your discretion to answer and vote accordingly, so.
I mean, half of us wouldn't know if drinking was allowed at 10 o'clock or 12 o'clock or 9 o'clock. We don't even know.
I didn't even know they sold alcohol on the daggone golf course for people to drink and play golf.
They have a cart that runs around.
I didn't know. I don't play golf.
So that's topic
Yeah,
2.
you fish, so you get to drink early, right? Yeah.
Well, I don't drink like that.
Can you drink at council meetings after 8:30? We have a third topic?
Third topic. Third topic is the final thing on the agenda from us is a request to amend the alcohol beverage license application to remove the petition of support, which is the signatures. Right now, currently, any establishment that is wishing to apply for an alcohol license, the applicant is required to obtain 10 signatures from property owners who are registered to vote in the district where the licensed premise will be located. It has been brought to our attention from our license applicants, the feedback we're getting, it's an involved and lengthy process. We run across a lot of property owners who are not present. They're rental properties, so signatures cannot be obtained. The safety issue has been brought to our attention of knocking up and randomly knocking on doors of people that you don't know and they don't know you. The premise, we understand the premise behind it is so that applicants are known to the areas, the community areas where they're asking to have the alcohol license. But what we're finding nowadays is that that is not normally the case. They're knocking on doors and people don't know who they are. And the people are having to sign and attest to the fact that we personally know these individuals who are applying for the alcohol license.
In some cases, we think that people who do not know the applicants are signing these petitions, and whether it's because they didn't read it carefully enough. The question says, I've known the applicant, I think it's 10 years.
10 years.
We think some people are reading it to say, I've lived in this community for 10 years. So I just want to throw that in. And then I want to,
I've been
once you're done, I'm going to say, make some comments that might answer what I'm anticipating to be your questions. But
I've been through this twice because I held a license in Wicomico County and I held a license in Worcester County. The problem with this, and I'd like to see this law changed, but I don't want to see it done away with. And the problem is, if you do away with this, is somebody can come into a neighborhood, open a store to get a beer and wine license, and nobody in the neighborhood knows it's coming.
Right.
That's the problem. That's the number one problem.
Okay.
I'll answer it.
Okay, the problem with going around and getting signatures is, like you say, I don't know how dangerous it is. I don't buy into that. But this has been being done since day one. And what we've got now, we've got people that's coming in wanting to get liquor or beer license. Nobody knows them. They don't know anybody, and they're just going to open a store. And I don't know where we need to go with this, but I think if you need to get signatures from so many people within a quarter mile or a half a mile of that business location, whether they're voters or they're not voters, or whether they're property owners or not property owners. But something needs to be done so the neighborhood knows it's coming.
Right.
And I know you've put in here about posting it and how many people read our website, I don't know, and how many people, read the Daily Times, probably not. But there has to be some way that the neighborhood knows that this is going to happen.
I 100% agree with you, and I do not dispute that in the least.
Well, what if you decided that it would have to be in a commercial district and it couldn't be within a mile of a residential area?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
I mean, I don't think there could be much pushback from the industry on that. You're going to have it in a commercial area? No homes.
Yeah, well, so we draw a line around this, we go a quarter mile around this location.
Be careful how far we send that out.
Yeah, okay.
No dog kennels.
Yeah, I know.
Included.
Yeah, right. If there's no residents in that, no residential homes in that circumference, we don't have to worry about it. I wouldn't say you would worry about it with commercial properties. Okay, somebody goes in, well, I don't know, I can't use an example right off the top of my head, but I'm worried about the residential problems that, you're going to run into. Not problems, but people not knowing that live there.
The Planning and Zoning Appeals Board, they advertise when there's going to be a hearing, and there is a hearing.
Yes.
They also post signage.
Yes.
I don't know how much, so that there's that awareness. The second part of it, I don't know if there's an actual opportunity for public to have input, a type of hearing or something like that. I mean, that would satisfy me to know that process was in place.
So there's a posting that happens at the establishment that's applying for a license, and that posting has to stay up for a minimum of 10 days. There is a requirement that the proposed license application must be advertised at least 2 times in 2 successive weeks. Also, our monthly board meetings, everything is posted as to what license applications are being made, and it's an open comment meeting. So anybody who has any questions or concerns about any alcohol license application is more than welcome to come to our monthly meeting and ask any questions or make any comments that they want. So we feel that there's appropriate getting it out there without having to go door to door and knock. And quite frankly, the way that the application is stated right now, as Mr. Duval indicated, we have people that are signing their names in a situation where they're not knowing the applicants for 10 years. They're not knowing if they're of good standing, if they're of good character. They're just, oh, okay, yeah, I'll sign it.
Like I say, I went through it twice.
Yeah.
I had no problems. You go around, knock on doors and say, tell them what you're doing. I got plenty of signatures both times. It was
I understand that. I also would challenge that we're in a bit of a changed world right now in 2025 with the safety of individuals knocking on doors of people that they don't know.
How about the safety of the neighborhood that gets a beer store and that
I
they didn't
understand that.
want it?
I absolutely understand that too.
Maybe Mr. Benson could help on the zoning aspect of this. I don't think the zoning code would allow a beer store in a residential neighborhood.
They do.
Talking about. I had a beer store in a residential in Parsonsburg, and there was an apartment house right next to me.
What was the property zone where you put it?
The property had been a store since 1910, so I don't know what the zone
All right,
was.
well,
but there was houses. You could hit a house with a baseball from the front of the store.
I don't think a beer store is a permitted use in an ARC district, but maybe I'm wrong.
Different neighborhood houses.
Just a question there, I guess.
It could be on the periphery of a neighborhood, but
So I definitely agree that the process is currently a bit, I don't want to say antiquated, but is the 10-year requirement on the application, is that something that you all determine internally, or is that something that's written into code?
I think it's code. It's part of the application, which is governed by state law, what's on the application, so.
So I guess, well, I don't have any major problems with that part, but obviously, like, no one will ever see anything posted on any government website. No citizen is like, oh, God, I can't wait to find out what's on the Board of Alcohol so-and-so. No one's reading this stuff.
Let me correct something that I just said. Yeah. So it's not a 10-year requirement. It's a question that says, how long have you been acquainted with the applicant? And it varies. I apologize, but we get answers where we know because of who the applicant is, that probably nobody in the neighborhood's been acquainted with them for any period of time.
It runs the gamut,
So-
7 years, 10 years, 12 years.
So anyway,
Yeah,
I
well, guess
apologize.
To that point, I think that part is, first of all, you don't know if you have somebody coming out of the area that is wanting to start a business and they've only been here for 2 years, but they're committed to the community, they live here, they have a home, whatever. There's those kind of aspects of it. But I guess my main concern is that people just don't want to have suddenly something put into their community that they don't know about.
Right.
Because then we all hear about it. And no one's going to the website, no one's reading the Daily Times. I mean, God bless them. So how do we, I do think that things like signs, if you have yard signs put out, say, here's where we want to put up a drinking establishment.
You're getting ready to do away with them. Yard signs.
Strike that. For the next, for like a month out or something where people are walking by and there's community conversations. I still think that actually is impactful, which is why people use it. So I don't know how we amend this in a better way, but you certainly don't want to get to the point where people then get upset because they feel like there's something.
Absolutely.
And then we just turn around and say, well, it was posted to that website that you never go to and the paper you don't ever read. So how do we find the common ground there?
This isn't just for liquor stores. This could be just for beer
This
and
could be
wine
for
stores.
beer, wine,
All right, so
convenience stores,
What
gas
would be
stations.
for any,
whatever.
it would be
Anybody.
for any license.
Restaurants.
Selling liquor.
The whole gamut.
Yep.
So I guess the question would be, what measures are in place right now when someone wants to open up a store on the corner of any street? What measures do you have in place to protect the citizens?
So
Besides this.
They make an application. There is a criminal background check that is done. There's a hearing before the board where the board is required to satisfy itself that the applicant is of the proper character to hold a license.
Has to live in this county, right?
Yes.
Sorry?
They have to live in this county.
Well, there has to be one local qualifier.
Right, a signature on there.
Yes.
Who is a licensee. You could have, and that local qualifier has to own 20% of the business. You could have 3 applicants, 2 of whom do not live in the county, one of whom is the local qualifier who owns 20%. So you can figure out who's actually running the business. I don't know if you want me to go through all of this, but, there's a fire code inspection that would create a maximum occupancy.
That's okay. I was looking for guarantees for the neighbors.
Yeah.
It's the criminal background check is the main one.
So how many people have not been able to get licenses because they couldn't get signatures? Has anybody come in and said, I can't get a license because I can't get signatures?
No one has said they could not. It has just been a challenging process with some of the applicants in finding enough of the
They get
signatures.
it done. If you want it bad enough, you can get it done, right?
You can find enough people, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So, and it's 10 signatures, right?
10, yes, that
Yeah,
need to be
I don't
qualified.
see where that's that onerous.
Okay.
I really don't see where that's
You
that
can't
onerous.
sign it saying you don't want it?
I would
Yeah,
suggest
you're
possibly.
signing in support of it.
Yeah, if they were go to someone's house who was not in favor of it,
Right.
they wouldn't sign the petition.
So putting this on the door saying maybe there's a public hearing or something for it, maybe that would be beneficial for the people that don't want it.
Some of those people might not visit that location. Dave?
I wouldn't be as concerned. I'm not as concerned about the 10 signatures and letting that process go. And to Josh's point, I think the more you can do to advertise, not just advertise, but I know it sounds silly, but signage really, I think, matters in this case and well in advance. And again, I'm thinking about my planning and zoning appeals. That's exactly what they do. And it does bring people's attention right away. So I would just say that would be the simplest, for me anyway, to address it and know that the public's got that chance to have input.
And everything is advertised. We were just looking to get rid of the 10 signature requirement.
You have a question?
I do. Mr. Duvall raised my name. He may be, I'm sorry he did it. I want to go back to the first question, which had to do with the Class A, Class B. So if I understand correctly, there is currently 2, the Boonies is not there, so there's an opening for a Class A license. And there are, if you remove the restaurant requirement, there are no other restrictions on who can get the Class A. So there's no square footage requirements, there's no location requirements. So
There's just a number requirement. The county cannot have more than 3.
I understand. So if you go to Del Mar and you go across the state line, there's a 10,000 square foot, an 8,000 square foot building, and they've got a beer, wine, and liquor license. Is there anything that prevents something like that opening up in Wicomico County? I mean, theoretically, somebody could open a beer, wine, a Class A license that's bigger than the county dispensary.
There's nothing in the current code
Right.
that would limit the size of the store. They would
So-
have to be granted the license.
I'm not advocating this, but just so you're aware of it, if you allow this and you advocate for it, that's what could happen. And if you're worried about that, then you need to make sure that in addition to changing this, that there's some restrictions placed on it as to size or some other restriction.
There's two businesses right now in Wicomico County. And I'm not, there's one near Fruitland, there's one on the east side in the Twilley Center, there's one in the Walmart Shopping Center that are waiting for this to happen and they're very, very large beer and wine stores at the moment. But they were set up and have been told that this is going to happen, and one of them is going to get a license, and that's when it's going to open up so another one can get a license. So that's the deal.
They're waiting for what to happen?
They're waiting for what to happen, Mr.?
Pardon me?
They're waiting for what to happen, Mr. Holloway?
For this to change.
But we're not changing the number of licenses.
I know that.
Okay.
I know that.
There is
yet.
absolutely no request in front of the council right now to change the
I
number of
understand.
Class A beer, wine, and liquor
Referring to
licenses.
the restaurant clause.
Huh?
I think that the purpose of the restaurant clause isn't to limit licenses and privileges. It's just because it just doesn't make any sense. Whether or not, I don't think the restaurant clause is there to create it as a deterrent, Joe. And if they benefit from the fact that they can open it because there's an extra license, I mean, that's law of supply and demand.
I'm just saying, there's two locations right now in Wicomico County, and which one ever gets the license, I don't know. But there's two right now that's waiting for this to happen.
That's okay.
And I was told.
That's okay. There could be two car dealerships
I mean,
waiting to
they're
open somewhere.
huge beer and wine stores, big, like Mr. Benson just mentioned about the 10,000. I don't know if they're 10,000 square foot, but anyway.
I think the idea might be not so much whether it's 10,000 or 20,000, but whether or not what measures are in place to guarantee that there's no overflow into some particular neighborhoods where you would create a problem. I think it sounds to me like you don't have anything established for Class A licenses where the public as a whole in that general vicinity could be protected. And even though we are...
Meaning by a size requirement?
No, I don't think a size requirement
Or a
is
location
terribly
requirement?
relevant, except for, you've got traffic issues and things like that, and no more than any other, whether you put a Walmart somewhere, you put a liquor store. I don't think that is a problem, but with what we're talking about here as far as petitions and things like that, I don't think a petition is necessary, but 10 people is nothing. What I think is more important is establishing something, and I thought you always had these parameters in place where if you're going to put a liquor store somewhere, and same with the beer store, there has to be more input from the public on
Right.
where that's going to be, and you don't seem to have those parameters.
The parameters are absolutely there. It's advertised, and as it stands now, any licensed applicant has to go door to door and get the 10 signatures. It's posted at the establishment that is seeking the license. So the parameters are there to get that information out to the general public. So if we're looking at the petition of support, we absolutely can leave that the way it is and keep the 10 signatures and take that out. If we're looking at the separation of the Class A beer, wine, and liquor, and the separating out the requirement to have the Class B restaurant, that's a different topic. We would welcome support on that. We're not that you don't have to support all of them. You can support one, you can support none, you can support two.
I guess what I would add to Mr. Benson's point is there's nothing as I think about it now, there's nothing under the current law that would prevent a restaurant owner from building a 15,000 square foot liquor store unless the board was to deny the license for some other reason related to its location in proximity to other stores. So the concern, I've never thought about it before, to be frank with you, but because the two private stores are actually fairly small, the one at Hoppers and that may be
Supply.
and the one, and that may be driven by economics, but anyway.
Getting to the third point, because I don't want to revisit the first two, or we're going to be here another hour. But in reference to this one with the 10 signatures,
Yes.
do you think maybe the questionnaire could be reevaluated so that it's not so onerous? I haven't,
We can look into that.
because you seem to suggest that was a problem.
Yes, we can we can look into that and see if that
The
can be
questionnaire
adjusted.
could be simplified. 10 signatures, I don't think is a problem.
I don't think that's.
Okay. Yeah, no, thank you. We can
I like the
definitely
10
look at that.
signatures. It makes them work.
Yep.
Work for it. And, I'm not trying to make it hard on people, but at the same time, like Joe's right, everyone here is right. We need to make the
Absolutely.
public aware of and that's the best way is have them walk around and introduce
So,
themselves.
and then getting back to the first
We have to
issue.
do it when we want to get elected, right? Yeah.
And getting back to the first issue, I think, what do you think our time is going to be now that we recognize the fact that there's a third license out there waiting to be distributed? What do you think our time frame is on coming to a decision on, especially the first item?
I think you want to reach a decision by the close of October if you want the statute to be amended to give the legislative body time to push it through.
So
It's been done later than that, but
what I'm
at the
getting
end of
at is-
October is a better.
You have a license out there.
Yep,
Are
we
you
do.
going to wait until after this legislative session before you issue it?
Well, we don't have an application pending, but if one were to be made, we would have
Would have to
address
review
in
it.
the normal course.
I've got a question. So I forgot one place. That's the one near the college that's always wanted a liquor license. So if you got the two stores that I mentioned earlier that are set up and ready to go for one, and you've got the one near the college that's set up and ready to go, and they all apply, who makes the decision on who gets it? How do you if they've got everything in line, these three individuals, and they all apply,
The board would have to make the decision.
so they'd have to pick
Yes.
the winner.
Yep.
Yes.
Not an easy job for the board.
Right. Any other questions? Entertain a
Just to
make it quick.
8-second, I just want to underscore that part. As the person who represents the college district, I always have parents reaching out every year. Students just came back last year. You know, they're almost always concerned about this issue of alcohol in general. And of course, as we know, the main dispensaries in my, not that far away, it's walking distance. I can walk to that one. I can walk down to Cheers, to Hoppers from where I live. So can the college folks. So, I guess making sure that there's not, I know that the board, trust but verify. I guess I'm glad that the board is thinking about this, but there needs to be some serious, parameters put in place to make sure that, that Cheers doesn't become,
There is a provision in the code, in the section that deals with factors the board has to look at in deciding who to grant the license to. One of which is the proximity of other similar stores in the area. So it would, I'm not going to prognosticate how the board would decide that, but you know how close the one you're talking about is to the Hoppers store, so.
yeah, I'll leave that up to you all, but I just want to make sure, every year I get people reaching out, and I just don't, I don't need any more concerns from parents, and others.
I will say, to your point, Mr. Hastings, the board staff works with college administration to address the problems, particularly with respect to those bars that are across the street from over Route 13 adjacent to the college, so.
And I have just met with the new Dean of Student Affairs at Salisbury University. So we're very, don't forget also one of the charges of our board is we are also responsible for the peace and safety and the safe consumption and sale of alcohol. So that does not go unnoticed by us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.